Double
Awesome.
check. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag. All right, we're good. We're live. Okay, hello everybody. I am here with a fellow Pete. This is Pete from the Ancient Americas channel, which is it's one of my favorite channels, man. I love your channel.
Oh, thanks.
You cover all things Ancient Americas, obviously, but you go deep. You go obscure, which is always good. Big
Yeah,
fan. You cover sort of lesser known ancient civilizations, I would say.
you go really deep too. Your episode that you did on the Maya is like that one blew me away. Like I loved watching all 2 hours of it, and the
It's
footage you
very
had,
long.
incredible. Yeah.
It's very long, very long. It was actually 4 hours.
Oh, was it 4 hours? Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I get a bit carried away. It was
Right.
kind of, I think it was 8 parts maybe. So it's sort of like each part I almost treated as like an individual thing. That each part had like an introduction, and then
Yeah.
it
I
just
just remember.
balloons into being
I
so long.
just remember seeing it on my feed and being like, "Whoa!" Like that. Like that's huge for am I going to be able to last through that? And you know, yeah, I was just like on the edge of my seat the entire episode.
Oh,
I was like, "Oh, this is so good," and like all the footage is gorgeous. He actually went to all
oh,
these sites.
thanks, man. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's coming from you. That is a big compliment because you're the America's guy. You are YouTube's go-to America's guy.
Eh, the guy who got stuck in this position somehow. Let me put it this way: the guy that everybody likes. I kind of like. I don't have a degree in like archaeology or anything, so like I often kind of tell people like I'm very unqualified to do this. I just read a bunch of books like a nerd.
But the thing is, I mean, all you learn, not to put down a history degree. I've got two history degrees, but basically you learn how to research.
Yeah.
And it's
Mm,
not like you can't learn how to research outside of university. So as long as you have those research skills, that's all it is. And at
yeah.
that point, it's just reading, getting all that information, which you clearly do. So I think you're just as qualified as anyone to talk about these things, as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny. I often joke to people. I think I knew more about all this when like on day one of the channel, because now that I've been doing it for 5 years, I know exactly what I don't know, like
Yeah.
how much of it,
Oh, it's so
how much
true.
of my
It's
knowledge
so
is
true.
gaps.
The name escapes me, but one of the Greek ancient philosophers, I think maybe Socrates, he's like, the more that you research, the less that you know, because
Yeah,
you just find out more and more that you could know and you don't. Yeah,
absolutely true.
it's always the way. Yeah, because I mean, even in that Maya video, I feel like I was just scratching the surface, and it was 25,000 words the script or something,
Yeah.
and it's like it's barely even getting into it. It's just introducing some of these things.
Yeah, it's really funny when you research a big topic, and yeah, I agree. Like you think that you're just scratching the surface, and people are always like, "Oh my gosh, this is like so in depth," and you're like, "Buddy, you have no clue how deep we could have gone on this."
Barely even getting started. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so you've been covering some interesting things recently, which is kind of like definitely lesser known things. What was the sort of oh god, what's it even called?
The Eastern
There's one on
Agricultural
the sort of the
Complex.
agricultural
Yeah.
methods, how they like burned the forest, and
Oh yeah,
what's
the
it what's it
fire
called?
regime one.
That's
Yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah.
just
That was
fire.
interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks. I'd been looking to do that episode for like years, and I was just like kind of finding books here and there and saving them, and I finally like got enough together to do that
Yeah,
episode. So I was
yeah.
thrilled.
No, amazing, man.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad you liked
cool.
that one because that one wasn't like didn't get a ton of views, but I loved making it.
Ultimately, I mean, that's why I keep doing these things because it's you just got to make the things that you like, haven't you? You got to make
Yeah.
the thing that you're interested in, and
Hmm.
then you can keep doing it forever if that's the case. Um, well, I've called you here to discuss sort of, I guess, maybe our favorite at the moment archaeological cultures in the Americas. I don't want to say definitively our favorites because there's so many, but cultures that we're interested in at the moment, anyway.
You have no idea how hard it was to just limit it down to a small number of cultures.
Yeah, same
Get
for
my
me,
favorite
same for me.
kids.
Yeah, and yeah, we could just have a like nice little chat, nice informal chat about these cultures. Um, you've stockpiled some images for me, which is nice, and I'll put them on screen. So I've got a little list here. I figured we'd go roughly in chronological order. So, as far as I can tell, I think we begin with the Hopewell,
Okay, yeah, you can definitely begin there.
because I mean,
So,
one of your cultures is sort of very wide spanning time, but I figured
yeah,
because they're kind of still there when the Europeans arrive, we could maybe do it a little bit later.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, now the Hopewell for, people who are listening who are not familiar with it, the Hopewell are basically, strictly speaking, it's not a culture. It's more like a tradition that spans across the eastern woodlands. I just realized now I didn't give you a map of the actual Hopewell range, but it basically
That's
spans.
okay. I can find one. I'll get one
Okay.
now.
It basically spans through a lot of the eastern woodlands, and it's a tradition that was kind of active from about like I think it's like 200 BCE to like 500 CE. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you've got it.
Oh,
Uh,
and then I've minimized it again.
Hold on, one
There
of
we go.
my lights is like flickering here. Give me.
It's a good map, this one, because it
Yeah,
shows
that one's
really
perfect.
the sheer extent of this cult, this interaction sphere.
Yeah. Now
I
when
suppose
you
it's like a horizon. That's a fancy term, isn't it? An
Yeah,
archaeological
yeah.
horizon.
Now when people talk about like, Hopewell, they're usually talking about like the Ohio Hopewell. That's kind of I think where the most famous sites are. That's where like the actual word Hopewell comes from one of the names of the sites there, and then it kind of gives its name to like a lot of the other complexes around it. But it's a very it's a very interesting culture because it's kind of when like it's after the archaic period, people are kind of starting to settle down, and they're starting to communicate with each other, exchange like all these different kinds of artifacts. They start building these really really intricate earthworks, all across particularly southern Ohio. It's absolutely fascinating. So the most famous one, yeah, right here. This is the Newark Earthworks. Now, sadly, a lot of the Hopewell Earthworks are destroyed. They're just gone. But the Newark Earthworks here, most of it at any rate, is still around. You can go see it. It was actually recently declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so that's super awesome. But you can kind of see there's like, circles, there's like squares, there's like an octagon in the upper left-hand corner that's connected to that circle. Now, a lot of viewers looking at this might kind of be like, oh, it's just a bunch of shapes, big deal, except that like these are actually super intricate. Like these are mathematically precise like shapes and sizes. So like circumferences of like circles are like incorporated like into squares. The way that these are lined up, they're lined up such that they align with like solar and lunar alignments. So like if I recall correctly, in the top left corner where you have like the circle it connects to the octagon, like if you draw a line from the back of the circle through the tunnel through the center of the octagon, like that aligns perfectly with like the lunar max, like with the moon's rise when it's at its lunar maximum. And that's something that only happens every 18 and a half years. So this isn't something that happens very
Yeah.
often. Like you have to be very smart and track, celestial movements, over a long time to be able to understand how to build architecture around it. And they did it here.
It's going to be some party, isn't it? Every 18 and a half
Yeah.
years. Something
Oh
is
yeah.
happening.
I'm sure things got lit in that
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. Kind of once in a lifetime almost. Because, I mean, people didn't live for that long, back then. So, yeah.
I mean, heck, people probably lived and died like between the
Yeah.
lunar maximums and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's a while. I was lucky enough to visit last year, actually.
Oh, okay, you have been there, yeah.
Yeah, I have been, and it's an incredible place. I was
Hmm.
completely
Yeah.
blown away. I wasn't quite expecting to be as blown away as I was, and it reminds me of henge monuments in Britain. So it's like, and I love a henge monument, they're massive. They're massive sites.
Yeah.
And similar to in Britain, yeah, they're all lots of them are aligned to the stars and the moon and the sun. It's just crazy the amount of engineering and mathematics that go into these things.
And what's really interesting is that like you'll find like lots of Hopewell like earthworks in different places. You're never going to find a Hopewell city though. Like because the
No.
Hopewell didn't live in cities. They lived in small settlements, they were starting agriculture was starting to pick up, but they weren't really like they weren't getting all their calories and everything from agriculture.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they were dabbling.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like it's like wild. This is something you would expect to find in like, kind of like an urban population, but no, it's just a bunch of people from a bunch of different villages coming together and then just like building these earthworks. And they're building them like with intention, with precision. They're like planning these out and you can only imagine these things had to have taken years, maybe decades to build out completely.
Yeah.
So somebody must have had a plan at the start and they, whoever built it afterwards followed that plan, for as long as it took to build it.
absolutely. And have you heard of the Great Hopewell Road?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, some of these things, they're linked up
That-
by these massive kind of ceremonial walkways.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Newark Earthworks is connected to. Is it Mound City or is it Hopeton down near Chillicothe, Ohio?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of those ones because there's a load of them in the Chillicothe Valley, and then Newark is a little bit further north.
Yeah.
And they're linked. Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting because it kind of like it. So I don't know a ton about the Hopewell Road. I haven't like dug into this a ton. I know that the Ohio State archaeologist Brad Lepper has done like a lot of work like trying to like map it and find
Yeah.
it. But I've always wondered like, is this like a ceremonial road or like are people using this, for transportation for like commercial purposes? But because I mean, you still have like all
Yeah.
the rivers there that you can go down. I would think people would.
yeah,
use
that's right.
So
That's
Yeah,
right.
I've always
It's not
wondered
the it's not the
is-
most direct route. I don't think.
yeah,
I think you could get about easier on a canoe.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'd rather just sit in a boat and go downstream than have to walk because I'm lazy.
yeah. I mean, you could, there's the riverways, all across America at that time. You could go from here all the way to, I don't know, really far away. You could go up to how far could you get? You could get all the way down over to the Rocky Mountains. You could
yeah,
you
you
could
could
go
get into
over
plains.
New York State
Yeah,
down
if you have a
to
good
the Gulf.
understanding if you have a good understanding of the rivers, I mean, yeah, you can get basically anywhere in the Mississippi Basin, or
Yeah.
the Missouri Basin. Yeah, you can get to. It's actually interesting. I once saw. I don't remember who this was. Like where this was from, but like some European explorer had basically asked somebody to basically draw them a map of like a certain area, and they just drew like pictures of like rivers to they drew
Yeah.
pictures of rivers to just show them like like, oh yeah, if you go down this river you'll get here, you go down that river you'll get here. And it's not
For
like
sure.
and it's not like geographically to scale, but you can kind of understand like, yeah, if you just understand these bodies of water and you just know who lives on what river, that's all you really need to know.
That's all you need, absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you sort of, if you change your frame of reference, it doesn't really matter about the hinterlands. The
Yeah.
rivers are what you need if you're a trader or whatever. You're going around, and
Exactly. Yeah.
oh, I love
actually-
thinking about these things.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of trade, or I'm sorry, did you want to say something? I don't want.
No, I was just going to say that I was speaking to Brad Lepper actually recently.
Okay,
Recorded
yeah.
a podcast episode with him that I've not put out yet, but we were discussing basically the extent of the Hopewell, and it is massive.
Yeah.
All across almost the entire
Yeah.
United States. You know, it's huge. So people, we don't know necessarily if individuals were making these journeys, but you know, some of them may have been.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because you see just a lot of foreign material pop up at like different sites within the sphere. So like I forget which site this is, but there's a Hopewell site in Ohio where they recovered like pipestone from the from like a tomb. If you want to go into one of the other pictures, you can actually see like one of the
I just
pipes.
I had to put this one on because this is just a cool image.
Oh, it's awesome! Yeah, that's at the
Cool image.
that's at the Mound City Museum.
So good. Like, look at this. Look at his sort of mask that he's got on. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, which one? You wanted the
effigy pipes.
FG pipes. All right, awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Oh,
these are
things are cool.
Yeah, so these are basically, pipes that are made. You can see that there's like one with a raven, one with a falcon, a squirrel, an otter up there at the top. So these are very common like grave artifacts that were, buried with people when they died. Oh, actually, Pete, you'll enjoy this. Fun fact, so the pipes that you're all looking at here, these are actually replicas because the British Museum actually has the originals. Because the guy who excavated them, I guess like this is what I was told by the park guide, but he was basically like, oh yeah, like, the guy who like excavated this, he like eventually like ran into money troubles. And so he had all these pipes that he had dug up and I guess like turned around and sold them to the British Museum and they've just had them since. So,
Sounds about right. Sounds about
Yep.
right. I've seen some of the Hopewell artifacts. Yeah, at the British Museum. Yeah, it's a weird one.
yeah. But anyway, sorry, back to what I was saying before. So like some of the pipestone that these are made out of like isn't local at all, even though there is pipestone in Ohio. Like some of these actually, the stone actually comes from like Illinois, like 2 states away. And it's kind of, and so you start asking like, why are people, are these items that are moving, are they like moving materials, even though they have the same material nearby? It just kind of speaks to the fact that like lots of people and items are moving around at this time. People are trading ideas.
Yeah, yeah, and it's we tend to think of everything in sort of like commercial terms, economic terms, but it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily that. It could have been gift giving, gift exchange,
Yes.
and things like this, and just certainly, yeah, ideas spreading and communities interacting with each other.
If you go to the artifacts picture, I think it's the next one in here. Because yeah, besides like pipestone, yeah, you can see that there's like so there's like shell necklaces out of like marine shell from the coast. There's like shark's teeth. There's copper artifacts as well that come all the way from Michigan. So like people are coming and going out of these areas and yeah, they're leaving a lot behind.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think. Well, it makes a lot of people think that it. You know, we may be looking at kind of pilgrimage centres. People coming along and maybe making an offering or something to like the. I don't know if it can even call it a priesthood, but that's sort of the only frame of reference I've got.
Yeah.
It's like a proto priesthood, but yeah.
Be like, all right, people, every 18 and a half years, we got to go down to Newark. So bring some fancy stuff to share.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, yeah, not to skip to the end, but then it sort of all just kind of ends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it abruptly terminates at about like 500 CE. Nobody's entirely sure why.
Yeah.
The big things that are happening there is corn gets introduced, like kind of starts appearing, not in like big numbers or anything. It's like still several centuries before corn really takes off. And also the bow and arrow shows up as well. So people think that there might be a lot of like conflict going on. In fact, whenever you see the bow and arrow like come into certain areas, whether it's like the Great Plains or like the Eastern Woodlands, like things tend to get a bit more violent. and that might have been what
Yes.
happened to the Hopewell. But again, nobody's sure. They just know that for about 500 years after 500 CE to about 900 to 1,000, like barely anybody's building mounds. There's not much trade going on, and it's not until the Mississippian period that that all that construction and trade takes off again.
And the Mississippians have much more of a hierarchy. So
Yeah.
it's like these haves and have-nots have formed, whereas potentially during the Hopewell, it was a bit more egalitarian, a bit more communal, like communal ownership of things.
Yeah. By the
Yeah.
time you get to Mississippi,
I'd rather live in the Hopewell.
cities. Oh yeah, like hey. Let me put it this way. I get the impression that like, people building these earthworks and everything like would have been having like a good old time. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this because this is a great thing to do. It brings the community together. I get the impression that like at maybe not at all, but at certain Mississippian sites, it's like all right, it's time to go work because the boss is telling us to. So
Also, time to go to work so the gods aren't displeased with us, and that kind of thing as well. It's more of a the Mississippians, it's kind of like they're doing it because they have to in a way. I feel like the Hopewell, they want to be doing these things. I think it feels good to come together as a community and contribute to I guess the legacy of the community in a way. It's like we were here, this is us, rather than it being like a monument to a king, which is what it seems like in the Mississippian period to me anyway.
I mean, you do find like some burials that are that are very rich in Hopewell areas, but like I think I think the consensus is not like that these people were like rulers or kings. Rather, they were just like valued members of society. Just like influential people. So
it seems that you probably couldn't take your rank with you. You couldn't sort of pass your rank on to the next generation in a way, whereas in the Mississippian period you probably could. You could be hereditary. You could make a hereditary like kingship or lordship.
Speaking of not being able to take it with you, have you? Because I've like read this in a few places, like about different cultures. But have you read that like a lot of the reasons why like people were buried with like large quantities of like shell, beads, or like other exotic material is to take it out of circulation so that it keeps it like rare? Have you ever heard this idea?
I've heard this idea. Yeah. There's all sorts of ideas. Interestingly, just like bit of a change of subject, kind of similar. In Scandinavia, in the early medieval period, it almost looks like, in a way, some of these burial mounds, basically, they could be used as kind of a bank by a dynasty. So they could stick all of their swords in there and things, and then if they needed to, later on, they could loot their own ancestor's tomb, in a way, if times got hard. So it's like,
interesting.
Possibly a bit of a cynical way of looking at it, but that is kind of what happened, is what it looks like.
Sorry, it's come to this, great grandpa. We got to get in and get your swords now.
Yeah, if you needed it, and just assume he'd be fine with it, because ultimately it's keeping the dynasty in place.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so. So I guess. Yeah, Hopewell. I mean, it's largely hunter-gatherer society, really, isn't it? And it's sort of incipient agriculturalists.
Yeah, it's kind of in like a weird middle ground. There's definitely still a lot of hunter-gatherer elements of it, but people are becoming more sedentary as the woodland period goes on. So, like by the start and end of the woodland period, like the picture looks a lot different from where it started versus where it ended.
Yeah. I suppose on that note, do you want to say anything else about the Hopewell?
No, I think we're okay. I know I had. Oh yeah,
you can quickly look at these pots as well.
Oh yeah, nice. Actually, yeah. So Hopewell pottery is also interesting. There's not, if I'm being honest, like it's hard to find like really it's hard to find like really good examples of Hopewell pottery in like museums and archaeology, because I think like a lot of the pots just like get broken when they're buried and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because this is kind of some of the first like elaborately decorated pots you find in the eastern US. Like you can find earlier pottery than this. Like, I mean, you know, especially places like down south, pottery was like around for thousands of years. But all that pottery is basically just utilitarian. It's just basically,
Yeah.
oh, we need a pot, we need a jar, boom, 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 here it is. It might have like some really simple decoration, but like in Hopewell pottery, it's like, oh, like we're gonna like, you know, we're gonna decorate these pots here. So you can see in this picture here, this is not the best picture I've taken, I'll admit, but like it's like, you know, kind of like a goose or like a duck head there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
that shape. So yeah, and
See
then
the
you know,
wing here, and then the
yeah,
head
and
and
then
sort of
like
beak. Yeah.
yeah, and then the one below you can see like you know there's a lot of like beautiful like texture and incision on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like yeah, the Hopewell pottery is like yeah, really really interesting because it's the first time people you know it's the first time that like people aren't making a pot just to have a pot. They're making a pot because they want to make something beautiful. Oh yeah, there's
Speaking of that, I mean, just quickly, yeah, because there's copper artifacts being made. This is a bird.
To the
All
right of
sorts of
that, those
things.
are deer. Yeah, those are copper deer antlers that someone made. It's probably like part of like a costume for like a priest or like a shaman or something.
Yeah,
And then, oh yeah, this is one of my
we've got
favorite items right here, the mica falcon claw. Like, I think this is just the coolest looking thing in the world. You know, if I was Native American myself and like, you know, from like an Eastern tribe, I would get that thing like tattooed on my arm. Like, I just
yeah.
think it was so cool.
It's awesome. What was it used for? I mean, decoration.
Um, Not entirely sure. I mean, could have been decoration, could have been part of like a costume or something. Um, yeah, I actually haven't as much as I love this artifact, I actually haven't read that much on it. I believe it's from yeah, it's from Hopewell Mound Group, so it's from like the Mound City site. And then
Amazing.
yeah, on the right hand side you've got yeah, on the right hand side of that you've got like a bird claw and stuff. And now
I
we're
haven't
speaking
shown a
through
picture of a depiction of the earthworks in their prime. I mean,
yeah,
look at that.
yeah,
That
I
is
really like
cool.
mhm.
That is crazy big, isn't
My
it?
one yeah. And this is actually interesting because you can see like the lower circle, there's like that little hill at the very end of the circle.
Yeah.
And a lot of archaeologists believe that like that's an observation point so that if you're on it, you can see like the sunrise or the moonrise as it's coming up.
Makes sense. Makes sense. You'd want
Mhm.
something, wouldn't you? Some
Yeah,
way of looking over your monument.
yeah,
All right, sweet. Quick look at this guy again. I mean, that's just
yeah. Yeah, I like this picture a lot. It kind
going
of
out.
gives like a window into kind of like the, rich like, pageantry that existed for, a lot of these communities with all these exotic materials. Like I said, you
Yeah.
got like copper, you got shark's teeth, you got marine shell, you've got like exotic types of stone, like pipestone, mica, like, there's like, yeah, like there's kind of almost like, I mean, I don't want to say like wealth, but like I guess kind of like a wealth of like exotic goods that are coming
Mm,
into certain communities at this point.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Yeah, and it seems like all throughout the world, when a society is at this point, they're just sort of getting into a little bit of agriculture. They're forming their society for the first time. There seem to be these central places that, like a mecca almost,
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
outlying communities will come together, and it's like this is the birth of civilization, as far as I'm concerned. This is how communities coalesce and then grow
Yeah.
into something else. And it's just a shame that the Hopewell then it all fell apart,
Yeah, well,
but
they come
replaced by
back.
something else.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah,
say, yeah, they come back once like, Fort Ancient culture kind of pops up in the same area.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you can't keep a good
They
place
just
down for long.
they just sort of stopped coming back together. I suppose they just remained in their smaller communities, and then
That's what I would assume because
cultural
I've
change.
never I've never seen any evidence of like, oh, this whole area was like abandoned and people stopped living there. So, yeah, as far as I know, people were still there. They just weren't moving around as much.
And it just seems like whatever had drawn them to these places to begin with didn't draw them anymore.
Yeah.
They just sort of they were irrelevant in a way now in the sort of new society that was then forming.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to Peru. We're going to
Oh,
look
yeah.
at some. We're going to look at some different pots.
I was hoping you would
So I
pick
mean,
Nazca.
we know the Nazca lines. Everybody knows the Nazca lines. Big pop culture thing, thanks to Eric von Daniken in his Chariots of the Gods in the 1960s, where he basically said that aliens made them. And it's an idea that's stuck around ever since, and it's a bonkers idea.
And
But there's so much more to the Nazca than just the
Yeah.
Nazca lines. I mean, the Nazca lines, incredible. These massive geoglyphs out in the desert, all sorts of animal forms, but also vast straight lines and trapezoids, and all sorts of sort of almost arenas out on the desert floor where people would conduct ceremonies. And again, a little bit like the Hopewell, objects would come from wildly far distances away, and they would be deposited in these places. But then there's so much more to the Nazca than just, the things that are popularly known. The Nazca
Yes.
ceramics alone are some of the best in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure if I actually put on many pictures of them, but
I'm so glad you bring
stay
this
with
up.
this one. Actually, we'll stay with this one. Yeah,
I was
sorry, you were
gonna
saying.
say, I'm so glad you bring this up because, like, yeah, the Nazca lines are, are cool. They're interesting. They're really awesome. I mean, you've been there. You've seen them, right? Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah,
But
absolutely
every
amazing.
time I hear people talk about them, I'm like, have you seen Nazca pottery? Like, have you seen like Nazca engineering? Like, it's so fascinating and nobody talks about it.
It's this amazing society, and the Nazca lines are often pitched as a mystery. It's like, who made these things? Who knows? And it's like, it's obviously
We've got
the
a pretty
people who
good
made
idea.
the pots, the people who made cities like, well, maybe not ceremonial centers like Kawachi, which is this incredible, just huge. It looks like an urban area. People may not have actually lived there, is the new consensus, but it's just covered in these vast pyramids.
So, have you been to Kawachi?
Yeah.
Does it feel like a really big place? Because I only know it through like the photographs and stuff.
Well, yes, it does feel like a big place because when you're driving there, you go past all of these still unexcavated pyramids.
Got it. Okay.
And there's so many of them, and you're just driving past, and you're like, "Is that a pyramid? Is that a hill?" Most of them do have something like this underneath. Then it's the center of it has been quite meticulously excavated, so it all looks like that. And yeah, it does feel big. It does feel big. It's sprawling, I would say.
Okay.
It sprawls. Let me get a shot. Oh, here we go. So yeah, I mean, Kawachi, it's kind of like another of these central places where people would congregate, people would come from very far away, and important things would happen there. And if you look at it,
Ooh,
it's a pretty barren place.
picture. Oh yeah, no, it's amazing that like thriving a thriving culture producing S tier art was living in such a barren landscape and just thriving there.
It's like, I don't know if you know the game Civilization, but it's like they've started a Civilization game and they put it on what's the hardest, like deity. They put it on the hardest difficulty.
And then you started on a desert tile.
Yeah, they've started on a desert tile surrounded by mountains, and there's a little bit of water, but not much. Any water that does come through, they have to meticulously harness it, and they have to have these aqueducts where basically any tiny little bit of rainfall or any bit of runoff from the Andes in the rainy season, they have to get it all, because if they don't capture that water, then they're done for. Like the main driver behind this civilization is capturing water. Basically, this is what they're obsessed with because they have to be.
Yeah. But once you do catch the water, and you can irrigate crops and everything. I mean, the sky kind of becomes the limit at that point.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And once they realized that they could do these engineering projects and capture the water. Let me get some other pictures. They start just being able to pull off really amazing achievements. So this is one of these aqueducts,
Yeah.
basically. So you can still see there's some water at the bottom of it. This was at the museum in Nazca.
Wow. So they put the museum right where that aqueduct is. That's some good planning right there.
Yeah, yeah. And these are all over the place, all over the Nazca region. Many of them are still used today. Locals still, literally still use them to get their water.
Why fix what ain't broke?
Exactly, yeah.
It's standing for 1,000 years at this point.
Yeah,
Probably the
that's
next
right.
few hundred.
And the Nazca, they are agriculturalists. So unlike the Hopewell, these guys are pretty into their agriculture. So that's one of the secrets to their success. Basically, they could sustain quite a reasonably large population through maize and all sorts of crops, basically. But with that, as often happens when you have crops, when you have something to defend, warfare comes in. So there is some evidence of potentially headhunting in the Nazca world. So here we are. Here's a depiction of a trophy head. Although jury's out, because a lot of people think it could be not necessarily you're taking a head as like a trophy of a victim. It may be a venerated ancestor or something like this.
Yeah.
It may be like not necessarily a negative connotation of having the head, but there's definitely something important about the head to the Nazca people.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with them.
Because I was about to say, they have actually found actual trophy heads in tombs and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you want to show them because they're pretty graphic.
Well, I'll say trigger warning. I think, to be honest, my viewers are quite hardy. But I'll say trigger warning. If anybody doesn't want to see a skull, a human skull, look away now. Because this is one in the museum in Nazca.
Yeah. So that's a good example. And that's another thing. They have the rope that goes through the head as
right
if you're
through
going
the head.
It. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always wondered. Yeah, I've always wondered, because whenever I see the rope, I'm like, did people just carry these around? Because it kind of suggests that if you have a rope through something, it's meant to be carried, or I guess you can hang it somewhere and display it. But that just seems wild.
I mean, in some of the iconography, you see, I don't know if they're mythological creatures or sort of ancestors wearing costume and things. Sometimes they will have sort of heads on strings around their waists. So it's like they're walking around with either the heads of their victims or the heads of their own sort of vaunted family members who they want to keep around to help them as a talisman or something like this.
Yeah.
But people really did do this stuff.
Yeah.
And these skulls are all over the place. Absolutely loads of them.
Actually, funny enough, I've been told by people who live in Peru. Oh yeah. I've been told by people who live in Peru, like in the mountains at least, that a lot of farmers and stuff will actually keep human skulls, will keep a skull in their house, and supposedly it's a good luck thing. So maybe there's something similar going on with the Nazca as well, but
that's really interesting that you've been told that, because that is very much that is part of the research on this region. There's the idea that the head and a skull is it helps with fertility, basically. So it helps with agricultural fertility. So but these people, they may have been hunting people for their heads. We don't know. They may have been headhunters. It's really one of those things where, unfortunately, because there's no written sources on these people, by the time the Spaniards arrive, the Inca are in charge, and before them, the Wari were in charge. So it's been a while since pure Nazca have been in charge of this region. So it's quite difficult to find out really what was going on.
Yeah, it's interesting, because after the Wari Empire falls, those Nazca people, if they wanted to just revert back to Nazca culture and make the pottery that they used to make, and pick up like those old life ways. They could have, but
Yeah,
they didn't. They had changed.
that's right. They didn't. They
Mhm.
didn't. Yeah, as we will see later on as well. Because like, am I right? I mean, the Moche people basically became the Chimu people,
Yes, their
and
descendants.
it's
Yeah,
and it's a pretty different culture. It's just
there's
similarities.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
as we'll
similarities.
see.
There's a bit of overlap, but yeah, I would say the biggest difference between like the Moche and the Chimu is probably like political. Like the Chimu, united in a way. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it's similar for the Nazca and the Wari because
yeah,
at the end of the Nazca period, they are essentially subsumed into the Wari Empire, but the Wari Empire probably had some sort of unifying religion behind it or something like this.
yeah,
And they basically would incorporate, like the Inca later, they would incorporate people into them. So it's not like they were conquering and replacing people; they were just sort of absorbing. And then,
yeah. And they take
yeah,
they take a lot of cues from the Nazca too. Like Wari pottery, like has a lot of inspiration, like a lot of elements that Nazca pottery has. The way that like the colors and designs are. Obviously, they don't have the same like religious motifs, but
mm,
they do take a lot from Nazca pottery,
it does
which
look kind of similar. Yeah,
yeah, that's an excellent teacher to have because like Nazca pottery is just gorgeous. Like there's so many colors in it. Like
yeah,
you just
it's
look at
very
a color and
colourful.
you're like, how many other cultures have this much color in their pottery? Like
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
lot. It's
and
just
it's the
clean lines. Like I love it.
it's the sort of accuracy of the depictions as well. You look and you're like, oh, that's a cat, or you look and you're
Yeah.
like, that's definitely that's a shark, and it's yeah. I suppose yeah, we should just briefly say so on this map you can see the Paracas
Hmm.
area up here. So the Paracas is basically they're essentially the Nazca. I mean, the Paracas became the Nazca in a
Yeah.
way. The Paracas culture starts sort of here, and then it goes inland up these river valleys as they are sort of searching for good land, really, and land to cultivate. Land that hadn't been cultivated before, so it had all of the nutrients in it and this
Yeah.
nutrient dense soil that you could use and turn the desert into a abundant field of crops, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Nazca sort of carried on doing that until they couldn't do it anymore, and they just simply it's just the land had been used too much, and the dryness of the environment just finally got to them, and then they sort of have this collapse,
Hmm.
possibly due to an El Nino event. These things that regularly hit the Peruvian coastline because of the sort of climatic conditions of the area.
It's
And this is Peruvian history, really. It's this rise and fall. It's
mhm.
sort of this just constantly over thousands of years, cultures rise, and then El Nino events get them.
Yeah. I yeah, you do see like El Ninos kind of coincide with like the end of like a lot of coastal civilizations.
Yeah,
Although in my opinion like, and actually I think we could make this point about the Nazca too. I kind of think that like if an El Nino, kind of like if an El Nino hits a certain like area, a certain culture, and it can't really recover, the odds are is that culture was already in dire straits at that point.
I would
This is
agree for sure, for sure.
pushing them off the brink,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
with the Nazca, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Kawachi is only like is only a living site for about like it's like half of Nazca history, and then it declines, and then
Before the end.
yeah, and then after it declines, like warfare just like really picks up in the Nazca world. You start seeing like, more
Yeah,
heads, you start seeing like more like warrior motifs in the art and stuff.
definitely.
So yeah,
It's
it was definitely
as far
those
as I'm concerned,
mhm,
warfare picks up massively,
mhm.
largely as a result of increased population and lack of land, basically. So people are looking. I mean, you're just looking to have enough food to support your family, I suppose, aren't you? But there just wasn't at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The population had grown, and it's one of these sad things, yeah, where it's just that I think that the land couldn't sustain that many people.
Mm-hmm. You just want to be able to give some farmland to your kids, make sure they
Yeah.
have a good future, and yeah, when they don't, I
Yeah.
imagine things get
Yeah.
real heated.
So when things were good in the Nazca lands, say round about first century AD, second century AD, it would have been a great place to live. I think there was a good community spirit. Go out onto the lines, ask the gods for some rain up in the mountains, etc., etc. But then towards the end, you're going to get headhunted by your neighbour. So
Would have been
yeah,
rough. And then you get conquered by an empire after that.
yeah, exactly,
To add
exactly.
insult to injury.
But then I suppose because the Wari, it was this large empire, they could, I guess, if something like that affected one region of their empire, they could probably recover from it,
Yeah.
divert resources or something like that. I haven't shown most of the images. This is an interesting one because at the end of, we just talked about Koachi. After Koachi comes to an end, it seems like the emphasis goes back out onto the lines, and these massive trapezoids are used.
Yeah.
So something is happening on these trapezoids, and they are ludicrously huge.
It looks like two giant searchlights like going up through the sky.
Yeah, yeah.
Shape.
But you could fit thousands and thousands of people
Yeah.
in them. So something was happening there.
Yeah, that's crazy that they would have cleared off like the surface from like, because that's got to be like a huge space on the ground.
Yeah, it is.
considering
Yeah,
how
it's
high
like
you are, but,
kilometers. Yeah,
yeah, it must have taken a long time to like clear off an area that big of like all the like all the rock and all the sand.
the interesting thing is you can people have experimented on these things, and they've done experimental archaeology to reproduce them, and it doesn't take that many people that long to make them. If you've got a
Yeah.
determined group,
Yeah. Like
you've got to have quite a lot of people.
But in that case, like we're talking about a line, like that's like a very large area though.
Yeah, it
like,
is. Yeah,
stretched out. So that
It
would
is.
I would imagine
Yeah.
that would take a lot longer than just a line.
yeah. It's this is more monumental than the geoglyphs. So the geoglyphs are smaller than these. Sometimes these will kind of intersect with geoglyphs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the desert is this canvas, and they often actually would. It's like they didn't really mind about things that were made 200 years before, because often they would build their new things over the old ones.
Now, do you have like a favorite geoglyph among all the Nazca lines? Is there one that like stands out to you?
Favorite, I suppose. I like the birds. I like the condor and the hummingbird. I think they're cool.
Yeah, the hummingbird one is really, really cool.
Yeah. I like the monkey. The monkey's good. Yeah. But I suppose, yeah, the interesting thing as well that a lot of people don't realize, it's not just animals they're not just in the Nazca Valley either. So there's a place called the Palpa Valley, which is full of these geoglyphs, and a lot of those are actually humanoid.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a whole fascinating culture going on, and a whole mythological tradition that unfortunately is just so hard to penetrate. People have all sorts of ideas about these things, but I mean, that's the mystery. The mystery is, what was their religion? How did they run their society, etc. Not whether they were made by aliens.
I mean, if you have an alien spaceship that's crossing the galaxy, but you need a couple of lines in the sand to land,
It's just bonkers, isn't it? It's like, come on.
I think you got problems.
Yeah, and then you see the Nazca lines, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, these are clearly just made by humans.
Yeah, and like you said, like it doesn't take much effort to make a line in the sand. You just push away the top.
I was able to, just as a little experiment, when I went and did the plane ride.
Yeah,
I was there, and I just thought, oh, I'll just kick a bit of it aside, and you could make your own Nazca line easily.
Yeah,
Just a little tiny one. Awesome. Right, what did I? My list says we should do Teotihuacan.
yes, Teotihuacan.
Let's do it.
I was about to say if you like big cities and big places, like this is the place for you.
It's the best one.
So, have you been to Teotihuacan or?
I have.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I've
actually,
spent entirely too much time visiting these sites and not making enough videos about them, to be honest. But
well,
that
looking
was,
forward to your Teotihuacan video. It's
yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah.
like
I will definitely do one.
4 hour.
Yeah,
Like,
I will definitely do one because it's absolutely fascinating, and there's so much that is still a mystery. You know, who were the
yeah,
rulers of this place? They're kind of these faceless rulers in a way.
oh my gosh, that like just who ruled Teotihuacan is such a baffling question. Well, okay, before we
Yeah,
get into that, let me just give like a little bit of
yeah.
background first. So for those who don't know, Teotihuacan is it's a city that's basically right outside of modern day Mexico City. It's not very far. Back in like from about like I think it's like 100 BCE to about like 600 CE. This is basically the biggest city in all of the Americas by far.
It's the
Um,
same kind of time as the Nazca, actually, just to
yeah,
put it into context, and it's like so much more populous.
yeah. So population estimates range like I've seen a couple that go as high as 200,000, seen some that go as low as 40,000, but most of what I see is like about like 100,000, 120,000. That's about where most of my
Just for the
land.
just for the city, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So let alone the empire that this city
Yeah.
created, you know. It's
And
the
yeah,
Rome of the New World.
it really is. Yeah. And it leaves like not only is it just like a big city with big pyramids, like it leaves a huge, huge cultural impact across all of Mesoamerica. And like, well, in fact, I think you can actually divide Mesoamerica into two groups: those that had contact with Teotihuacan and
Mm.
those that didn't. Because the ones that didn't tend to stand out. The ones that did have contact with Teotihuacan, like they adopt a lot of its architecture. There's like
Yeah.
artistic influence that bleeds into those cultures. So yeah, it's really fascinating.
It
And
just becomes the norm to have contact with Teotihuacan,
yeah,
basically. If you didn't, it's unusual. It's unusual.
yeah. I actually picked this picture here because like these like the pyramids that are in the foreground, like those are kind of considered like the little pyramids, but like you can see that they're actually big. You can see the people on them. And then in the background, that's the pyramid of the sun. And it's like it's massive. It's gigantic. It's actually um it's either the third or the fourth largest pyramid in the world. I need to like check
Yeah.
my sources on that.
It's what those things are always a bit confusing because it's like
Yeah.
someone will be like, "This is the second largest by volume," or like, "This is the third
Yeah.
largest by width," or like, but it's
Yeah.
definitely in the top 10, like biggest
Yeah.
ever that humans have ever made. You know, it's
Yeah.
ginormous. It is crazy big.
Because the footprint for the pyramid is like it's the same size at the base. Well, not the same size, but almost the same size at the base as the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now it doesn't go
Yeah,
as high, obviously, but like that kind of gives you a sense of the scale. It's huge.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah,
Now what?
and
Go ahead. Go ahead.
vast sprawling. Just it's just a vast sprawling city. It really is, and it's got these massive avenues that go down the middle.
Yeah. Can you
Um,
switch to
get different.
the Pyramid of the Moon one? I think it's the first one in there. The very first one. Yeah. Hmm.
Here we go. Yeah, so this is the
Yeah.
massive avenue
So
between
yeah.
the pyramid of the moon and the pyramid of the sun.
Yeah. So at the end of this is called the Avenue of the Dead. That's probably not what the Teotihuacanos called it. That's what the Aztecs called it later. But when you see like pictures of Teotihuacan, like you're gonna see this avenue, you're gonna see the Pyramid of the Moon at the end. But like yeah, to what you were saying, like there's like the city itself goes out far beyond what you're seeing in the picture. There was like an incredible amount of sprawl. There's like other pyramids. There's like old apartment complexes and stuff just all over the place. Like this picture doesn't capture how big the city
No,
was.
no, it
Yeah.
doesn't. And one of the fascinating things as well is that there's whole suburbs of the city that was kind of like, this looks like the Maya suburb of the city, and
Yeah.
then there's one where it's like, this looks like where the Gulf Coast people lived. And
Yeah.
there are these sort of almost communities of sort of expats from different areas, basically living and working in the Teotihuacan
Yeah,
capital.
yeah. And it's interesting because we know that those are like neighborhoods like made up of other like ethnic or cultural groups because we find their artifacts in there. So like yeah, like in the Maya neighborhood, you find Maya pottery, you find Maya
Yeah,
style tools. In like the Zapotec neighborhood, you find Zapotec pottery and Zapotec goods there.
yeah.
In fact, actually, go to the I think it might be the last picture that's in that folder. It's the ceramic statue. Oh wait, not that one. The yeah, that one. So this is a statue that was found at Teotihuacan, and I'm not sure of this 100%, but I'm willing to bet that this is actually not a statue created by a Teotihuacano. It's probably a statue created by a from like a Zapotec person that was living at Teotihuacan because this is, Kosiho, who's like the main Zapotec storm god, or at least it looks a lot like him with like the
Yeah.
forked curved tongue. So yeah, it's like really interesting to see like all these different artifacts from so many different places pop up at Teotihuacan. I mean, it kind of shows you how cosmopolitan it was.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. And just the sheer influence of the place.
Mm,
These people, they must have been there for a reason. They're probably making lots of money by being there.
yeah.
It's
Or that, or these neighborhoods might have been like embassies or something. You know what I mean? There might have been like,
maybe, maybe,
like
maybe.
that neighborhood might have been like, oh, like, this is like the embassy from Monte Alban and it's at Teotihuacan so that we know that things are running smoothly.
Yeah, could
At the
be.
same
I mean,
time, yeah.
they could be captives, like hostages, living quite a nice life,
Oh,
but they may have been.
interesting. I didn't think of that, but that's kind of neat to
Could
think.
be just because
Mhm.
I mean the idea of a hostage is we would assume somebody's tied up in that, but no, like in the past,
Yeah,
particularly in like say medieval Europe, you'd often have a hostage and they'd be part of the family. It's
yeah.
just they're there to ensure the good behavior of like their father or whatever or their uncle.
Or maybe in
So
like ancient like Mesopotamia where you have like certain populations that might be relocated to different areas. So
yeah.
like the Jews getting taken out of like Jerusalem after the Babylonian conquest to like
Hmm.
Babylon. Maybe it's something like that, but those neighborhoods
Yeah.
aren't that big, so I don't think it's anything on that scale, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a neat idea.
But it's an interesting little insight into just the power basically of Teotihuacan. It's this world spanning empire essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Um
actually,
and
to
they're
get back to what you were saying earlier about like who ruled Teotihuacan, like we don't have any idea like who was running Teotihuacan, and like it's funny because like there are experts that like
possibly that like these guys.
yeah. Oh, I
These are the
love
sort of jade masks, and
masks.
there's
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of these, and they all look pretty similar. It's
Mm.
this sort of just I don't know what you describe this face as. It almost looks like maybe in a trance.
Yeah, or well, I don't know, like because this is one of those things where I'm like, is this like a supposed to be like an actual person, or is this
Yeah.
like a representation? Is this a class of person, or is this like a god,
Is it a
perhaps?
god? Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the masks they're always so beautiful. I've always wanted to like take one of those and like put like a fire, a light behind it to kind of see
Oh,
what it would look
yeah.
like in a dark space. It would probably look awesome.
I think so. I think
Mm.
so. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because like, different like scholars and researchers will take completely opposite positions on who was ruling Teotihuacan. Some people are like, "Oh, there must have been kings at Teotihuacan. Look at like all the construction. Look how it's all master planned." And other people will say, "No, it has to be like some sort of like representative or council government because there's no like big palace. There's no royal tombs anywhere." So, yeah, it's a mystery and I don't think it's one that we're ever going to solve. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. It's one of these. It's interesting. Like every generation of archaeologists will have their own new idea about it, and it sort of keeps. It almost says more about that generation of archaeologists than
yeah.
it does about the culture itself.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the general consensus today? I haven't done my in-depth research yet on
So
this city.
so so it's funny because when I did my research, So when I did my research, there were two works that I read. Was from Linda Manzanilla. She was very much in the we're looking at some sort of like oligarchic type of government. A government that's run by like a body of people. And
Yeah.
then yeah, Saburo Sugiyama wrote the other paper, and he was the one who was saying, like, no, this is like a master plan city. This is the vision of like one guy. There has to be some sort of king who can just make all these decisions and keep everything consistent. And I mean, like, and don't get me wrong, like, we have found like some rich like burials and tombs at Teotihuacan. Whether or not they're rulers, though, is very, very debated, though. And he definitely subscribes to the to like the king model, basically.
Mm.
And I think that's where more people lean, but I don't know. Yeah, like
If they
there's
were kings,
right.
they're pretty faceless, aren't they?
They
And
really are.
as
Yeah.
far as we're aware, am I right in saying there's no writing or little? There's no script that we know
That
of.
so there is actually script at Teotihuacan. It's in a mural in one of the buildings. In fact, I think the building is called like the Palace of the Glyphs or something. But
Nice.
but again, like there's not that many of them. There's no, there's not really a large corpus of it, so I don't think we're ever going to decipher it or anything.
Is it a
But
Teotihuacan
mhm,
central? Is it one of their? Is it their script?
yes, it's unique to
Yeah.
them. At least
Wow.
it hasn't been found anywhere else. But again, like
Yeah.
it comes from one room
Just
in one
tiny
building.
little amount.
Yeah, and it's just like, and I don't know, maybe they aren't glyphs, maybe they're, something else that we're just mistaking as glyphs. But the Teotihuacanos, they had to have known about writing because they had
Surely.
contact with
Yeah.
the Maya. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and they had contact with the Zapotec, and all of
And
them were using writing. They would have known it existed.
and the Olmecs were writing what 1,000 years earlier, or what, or maybe not that far, but
Actually, so
earlier, or maybe they
so
weren't.
writing so the actually funny enough, I've learned a lot more about this now. So the earliest writing in Mesoamerica is probably comes from the Zapotecs, actually, not the
Oh,
Olmec.
nice.
Although they do pick it up fairly early, but again, like there are artifacts where it's like, is this actually writing? Is this actually Olmec? Because it's taken from like, somebody looted it and we're not sure where it comes from or what it dates to. So
Yes.
yeah, talking about writing, yeah, that's kind of a can of worms. And then you also have to think like, when we say that like writing appears at this time, what we really mean to say is like writing appears in stone at that time. People might have been writing for like centuries before that, but they might have been writing on wood. They might have been writing on, leather or skin or, some other impermanent
Yes.
medium.
Definitely. This is like the origins of writing in China.
Yes.
It's on the oracle bones, and
Yeah.
it just appears fully formed, and it's way too advanced to have just
Yeah.
miraculously appeared on these bones. So it's clearly being done on some sort of perishable material up until that point. So yeah, perishable materials in the New World.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then of
Yeah.
course Teotihuacan is it's the place is smashed up, burned down,
Yeah.
destroyed.
So
So
that
maybe people destroyed all the writing. Maybe they were. I don't know.
it got rid.
Speculating now, but
Actually, well, it's kind of interesting because yeah, there's like, and again, this is something where like there's a lot of interpretation because the city does get like burned at some point, but it's not abandoned. And
yeah,
so a lot of archaeologists will say like, oh, and I think it's like at about like 400 or 500 or something, if I'm recalling correctly. But
yeah,
a lot of archaeologists have like thought like, oh, there must have been like some sort of like, revolution or some sort of like coup or regime change. And it is interesting because you do see some changes in the architecture. Actually, close out of this picture really quick. and go to the snake head that's in there, the stone one. Yeah, to the right. So this is part of the decoration on a pyramid that we didn't see in any of the pictures, but it's called the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl. Although I think that name might be a little anachronistic, but basically, like, all this decoration that's frankly beautiful and gorgeous gets covered up like after that date. So it kind of like hints that like the paradigm, or whoever was in charge of Teotihuacan shifted, and that they were trying to like kind of cover up like an older political paradigm or something.
Yeah.
Again, like, that's just a theory.
Yeah.
Somebody might have just been like, oh, let's redecorate this pyramid, and never got around to finishing, the next phase.
Could be. But ultimately, the empire comes to an end.
Yes.
These areas that had been controlled by it for a while go back to doing their own thing, including several of the Maya cities, which had been under sort of Teotihuacan domination. But we'll get to that.
If you want to wait until later.
We'll get to that. What was I going to say? Yeah, then it becomes very important during the time of the Aztecs, which is centuries later, because they then sort of, so the legend goes, they arrive in the Valley of Mexico and they see this place and they say this could only have been built by the gods, and that's where it gets the name, right? So what does the name actually mean? Is it the place where gods walked, or
no? It's I'm trying to think. I think it's like where the gods are born, or like birth.
Yeah.
Where one
something gods.
That's what it is, where one becomes a god.
Where one becomes a god. Yeah. And that's where the name comes from. And then ultimately the Aztecs were obsessed with the place.
Oh yeah. How could you not be obsessed with that place if you like stumbled on it?
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I've heard of accounts that like the Aztecs actually like went in and kind of like dug up like, some like some of the artifacts from Teotihuacan and brought them back to their city so that they could like display them and stuff. Like, in a way, they were the first
sort of proto-archaeology. Yeah. I like that.
Oh, I'm sure they were using that for like propaganda and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yes, at the Templo Mayor in Mexico City, which is like the big temple at the heart of the Aztec world, you could say, where a lot of the communal events and all that were done, and sacrifices and things. There's lots of things from Teotihuacan there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There are lots of things that they've taken from Teotihuacan and they just sort of found in the area. So they clearly liked having things from the place.
Is it like decorative elements, or is it like specific portable artifacts? Like,
just a bit of everything, as far as I remember. I've not done my in-depth research on it yet, but it's in the Templo Mayor Museum. There's quite a lot of things from Teotihuacan.
I might actually be going to Mexico next year, so if I do, I'll keep my eye open for that.
Oh, amazing! Where are you going to go?
Mexico City, hopefully.
Oh, love Mexico City. Have you been before?
No, I've never been before. I was in Oaxaca last year, and that was like, I loved Oaxaca.
I've heard so many good things about Oaxaca.
And like, people are like really, really wonderful there. The food is amazing. Like, if you go to Oaxaca, like, find a place that sells tlayudas and eat one. It'll be like you're standing, in front of God. It's like,
oh yeah, man, awesome. Did I see you did a tour there? Did you lead a tour?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we were in the valley. We went to like Monte Alban and like a couple of other sites and stuff, but we don't have to talk about that here.
Yeah. No, neither of us have chosen Zapotex, stupidly. We should have done.
Like I said, it's hard to pick just 5 cultures.
Oh yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. But I was trying to pick things that I've relatively knowledgeable about as well, because I don't want to sound like an idiot.
See, that's actually funny, because I picked one of the ones I picked. I was like, I haven't done any in-depth research, but I do want to learn more. So.
No, to be honest, a couple of mine I've not done much research on. Okay, Teotihuacan. You happy? Moving on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll get a bit of a hoof on because we are. How long? We've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We've done 3. That's fine.
We're gonna be here till night at this rate.
Yeah, this one
I'll
will be
let you.
relatively. This one will be relatively simple because we're just going to talk about the Amazon. We'll just generally we'll do broad strokes. So, Amazon basin. It's not just the Amazon River. It's also all of these other massive rivers as well. So we've got the Amazon in the middle, then all of its tributaries. Some of them are bigger than almost every other river on the entire planet, and it's only a tributary of the Amazon. So throughout this area, once upon a time, pretty recently actually, it was assumed in archaeology and other disciplines that ancient people in the Amazon lived in much the same way as many of the native people who live there now do. In recent years, this has been completely blown out of the water. So the ancient Amazon was a flourishing region of, urban dwelling societies practicing agriculture, coming together to make monumental architecture, amazing artwork, populous places of 5,000-10,000 people, entire networks of these sort of clusters of proto cities, really. Certainly urban centers with like plazas in the middle, probably hierarchical things where kings were ruling. It's just completely bonkers how much was going on in the Amazon in the ancient past, and still how little we know today, although it is changing. I'm sure you've seen, and all the viewers will have seen, the amazing developments in LiDAR that has been done, which is basically shooting lasers into the ground. I'm trying to find my LiDAR. Did I even put a LiDAR picture on there?
Pictures coming up, or I don't know if you have 2 monitors or something.
I do have 2 monitors. I don't think I even put a LiDAR image on here, but we can just use our imaginations.
Yeah.
This is a little map, essentially just showing
Oh, nice.
the range of these sites, and there's just loads of them. And these are, we don't know whether it's a vast area. It's an absolutely vast area. It's a continent in itself.
Yeah.
So, these people weren't necessarily aware of each other's existence. We don't know anything like that, but they certainly were living very advanced, way more advanced societies than we assumed.
Yeah, definitely more than they're given credit for.
For sure, for sure. And then, I suppose recently one that I came across, which I've been doing a little bit of reading on, which find it really interesting, is there's a state of Brazil called Acre, which is kind of like almost into Bolivia. It's down here in the south, basically, quite far away from the Amazon River itself, and it's this area. What's that?
I said, and yet so close because it's all connected.
It's all connected, yeah. It's all connected, and it's basically due to deforestation, which is why we know about this particular culture, which I'll show now. And they make these massive earthworks, and they're a little bit like the Hopewell.
They are a lot like it,
Yeah, and they're these geometric patterns, basically, like circles and squares and octagons, and they're all over the place. There's hundreds, if not, I think maybe there's thousands actually, and they're all over the place in Brazil, and unfortunately, they are largely not protected yet. It's on the tentative list to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but at the moment, a lot of the time, they will get destroyed if they're discovered, because the farmers know that they don't want archaeologists coming onto the land or any of this stuff, so they will sometimes destroy them, sadly.
Yeah, well, that happens a lot in the United States too, sadly. But I'm curious because, like, these earthworks, I haven't read into very much, but have they actually kind of excavated and dated any of those yet?
Yes, they have. Not a huge amount of work has been done. I think it's like 1 or 2 people basically who have almost made it their life's work, and they've been working on these places since the 70s. I mean, it's like, and it's an uphill battle, because back in the 70s, the general consensus really was quite old fashioned. It was like you needed to have, what are these things? You need, in order to have a civilization sort of thing, you needed to have like writing, etc. And it's like
Yeah.
this
There's
stringent criteria, which
so
people would hold on to it like it's really rigid,
yeah.
and it's just shown
So
to be incorrect.
yeah, there's so it's funny. I'm actually in the middle of researching a Amazonian topic. It's not this, but it's interesting because like a name that gets brought up a lot is Betty Meggers.
Yeah,
And she wrote a book, yeah, in the it was either like it was in the 50s or 60s or something, but it was called The Counterfeit Paradise. And like the whole thesis of the book is like the Amazon, the jungle, the tropics is where like civilization goes to die. If people
it's
come in, whatever complexity and sophistication they have is just gonna like wear
yeah.
away,
Yeah,
you know.
it's the Green Desert. Betty Meggers's idea was basically that any sort of advanced culture in the Amazon had been displaced from somewhere else. So a lot of them came
Exactly.
from the Andes, which
Hmm.
was her idea. But it just doesn't seem to be true.
Nonsense.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just doesn't seem to be the case. Um, but she was the mainstream, and it's taken a long time for the consensus to change. But now this is the mainstream. The mainstream now is that super advanced, fascinating cultures all over the Amazon, and we can just look at them on their own merit. We don't have
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, they must have been coming from the Andes." It's like, no, this is independent of the Andes.
Well, and it's interesting because we know that like a lot of stuff does come out of the Amazon. Like a
Yeah,
lot of Indian
yeah,
cultures will have like motifs that we can tell are Amazonian, that depict
yeah,
like
yeah,
jaguars, for instance. And it's like, well, jaguars don't exist in the Andes, but if you
yeah.
go over them and go into the jungle, there's tons of them there.
A
And like,
guy who I really like, Julio C. Teo.
yeah, yeah,
Do you know him?
Teo,
Yeah. So
I know
his
him.
idea 100 years ago, he wasn't afraid of just putting a wild idea out there, but he liked to think that kind of this spark of civilization in the Andes came from the Amazon. So he thought that Chavin, there was this, jaguars everywhere and all this stuff. He thought there
Yeah,
was something coming from the Amazon, and he might have been right. That
I
might
yeah,
be
I think
that
I
might
think
be right.
yeah, no, I think that that could be correct. And like,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because the earliest pottery in all of North and South America comes from the Amazon. Like,
Yes.
doesn't come from the Andes. It doesn't come from Mesoamerica. It comes from like the heart of the Amazon. So like,
Yep.
clearly there was stuff going on there. These people weren't like walking around, just like walking around grooming each other for lice all day. Like, they were doing stuff. They were
Exactly.
getting stuff done.
Exactly. Yeah. These are whole clusters of settlements like this that have been found up in the Xingu River Valley. So it's
Okay,
one
I
of the
was about to
one of the
say, is
major
this also
tributaries.
okay?
So this is a different culture to the Acre ones. It's really far away from those ones, but it's these centrally planned, or at least they look like they're centrally planned, with a plaza
Yeah,
in the middle, and then they have these radial roads going out from them. And then basically there'll be like a central one of these settlements with many clusters of others in the
yeah,
outlying areas, and then in between is this basically garden. So the forest has been turned into a horticultural paradise, basically, with just,
I
you can pick a bit of food off anywhere you want, really. It's just, yeah,
don't even get me
it's cool.
started on sports gardens. I could go on for days about like how interesting it all is. But
It's
yeah,
amazing, isn't it?
mhm,
Just because anthropologists in the 20th century couldn't live in the Amazon, they assumed that no one could.
yeah. And it's interesting because like I think we're I think modern people are used to much more immediate returns on their labor and investment. Whereas I think people, living 3,000 years ago in the Amazon were much more long term focused. Like, okay, hey guys, before we leave, our village to settle a new one, make sure that like you're planting bunch of like useful trees, useful plants. So this can be like a fruit grove or a palm
Yeah,
grove in like, 30 years.
yeah,
And you just
yeah.
do that over thousands of years and you just get sections of the Amazon that are like, that are just gardens, that are just really useful groves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you add an element of ritual to it.
Yeah.
And that's not to say like it's it's like a wacky ceremony or something. A ritual can just be like, we do this every Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, we do this in the evenings as a group. You all plant the thing together, and it just it gets baked into the society, and then that's how you become successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, they were growing all sorts of things. They were a little bit of maize, cassava,
Big one.
a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff.
It's actually interesting because, like, I don't think people realize how many
Oh, this is a good
crops
one.
come out of the. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures. Yeah, I've seen that
Yeah.
one. It's a beautiful one. But I was gonna say, I don't think people realize like how many crops in the Americas come out of the Amazon. You know, so, like stuff like like you've got like the standard ones. You know, like cassava, and then you've got things like, you know, cacao. You've got things like peppers. Peanuts also come out of the Amazon. Tobacco comes out of the Amazon. Coca does as well. There are
Rubber.
varieties. Yeah. Actually, no. And I can talk about
No.
that in so yes and no, because so my next episode, I'll just say it because it's already available to patrons, is about the Mesoamerican ball game. I learned about rubber. There are rubber trees in the Amazon, but up in Mesoamerica, when people were making rubber balls there, they were using other plants. So there's like different trees that produce latex up there that are different from the latex trees in the Amazon.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
actually, you can get latexes from like literally thousands of different kinds of plants if you know how to extract it. But
I know about the rubber boom, and that's because
yes.
I mean, that's the reason why there's a big city, Iquitos, in the Peruvian Amazon, because they basically realized that they could make money and export it to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But the rubber trees are they not native to the Amazon?
They are native, yes. So
they are?
Yes, they are native. I'm just saying that that there are other sources of rubber outside the Amazon as well as those within.
Oh, I see.
But for example, like all cassava,
yes.
all sweet potatoes, all, you know, tobacco, cacao, the other stuff I mentioned, like all that comes out of the Amazon and only the Amazon.
Oh, wow. I didn't actually know that. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
only the Amazon.
Remind me, like when we're done with this call, remind me, I can send you a article that like really lays this out in detail. So
Oh, please do. Please do. Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, please do. Yeah, and just absolutely crazy earthworks, these things.
I'm curious if someone's ever like come in and seen if there's like alignments to like, you know, solstices, equinoxes or anything with those, because
I really
logic behind where those are all placed.
I really hope that there's work being done right now, you know, like I really hope there's a lot of work being done in the Amazon. But we'll see. I hope in the next couple of years we can this is just an interesting map of a few of the different areas basically.
Yeah. Llanos de Mojos. I've like toyed with doing an episode on that topic for a couple years. I think that area is really, really fascinating.
That's another one where it's vast wetlands, isn't? Is it wetlands? Yes. And then they have these sort of raised areas where people live.
Technically, it's savanna, but it's seasonally floods. So, like for part of the year, it's underwater, and then that's where like people are building the mounds so that they can live on top of them. But then during the dry season, the water all goes down.
Yeah. But yeah, anyone listening, if anyone's an archaeologist, go to the Amazon, please. Thank you.
And publish your stuff in English, please, because
yes, please.
I've had to feed so many archaeological articles through Google Translate to get them from Portuguese to English, and
yeah. The interesting thing is, just before we end on the Amazon, that all these, not all, but a lot of the really interesting stuff, it's sort of in the southern Amazon, not actually on the main river itself. But even on the main river itself, there's a lot of things going on as well. Who's the guy? Francisco Orellana, who's the conquistador in the 16th century. He's the guy who goes down the entire Amazon, describes cities of people, and then he's basically called a liar.
for like 400 years.
Yeah, and now we're like, okay, he's probably right. Yeah,
But in the southern Amazon, like a lot of that area is like tropical savanna and stuff. It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
forest. And I think in
That's
those
right. Yeah.
areas, I suspect, this is just my guess, I suspect that archaeology is a lot easier there than like, you know, going into like the heart of the Amazon forest
100%.
itself and like, yeah,
Yeah,
having
100%.
like
You can
work and stuff.
you can be in the Amazon and you could be next to a pyramid and you wouldn't realize
Yeah,
because
exactly.
the trees are so dense that you just wouldn't know. You just wouldn't know. And thankfully, it's not all been chopped down yet. So I think we could just leave some of it for now.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I quite like oxygen.
I want to
It's
breathe.
the lungs of the world.
It'll be like we're living in Spaceballs where they have the canned air that they have to breathe in. Have you ever seen that movie or no?
Yeah, no, I have. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. And then we're also going into Wally universe as well,
Oh yeah.
which is kind of scary. All right, let's do some
gosh.
escapism. We'll go to the Maya.
So
Here he is.
okay. I don't think yeah.
Here's
Kanish-
Pakal.
Kanishkanab Pakal. Yeah, one of my favorite Maya rulers. So, I mean, I don't think the Maya need like a whole lot of introduction. I think this is probably like the one culture everybody knows about.
Yeah,
But yeah, basically the Maya have been living in, the Yucatan, Guatemala, parts of Honduras, El Salvador for like thousands of years. And like it's kind of interesting because like, this is like a culture that has like thrived, contracted, flourished, like it's been like up and down for it's been up and down like all through history, but mostly I think what most people think of when they think of Maya culture is probably what's called classic Maya culture with like, the pyramids, the buildings. So yeah, this is I wanted to use this picture cuz this I think kind of gets at like the scale of Maya civilization during the classic period when again, this is very debatable when what some people consider like peak Maya civilization. Like this
yeah.
is a whole acropolis, and you can see like there's just different layers that are built on top of each other. And then at the very top there, you've still got like a pyramid on top of all that. It kind of
Very
gives a
complex
scale.
architecture.
Yeah.
I could be a hipster here. I could be saying, well, the Maya culture peaked in the pre-classic, my friend.
You totally could. Yeah.
Because the pre-classic has La Danta Pyramid at El Mirador, which
Yeah.
ranks alongside alongside the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan as one of the biggest in the entire world.
Yeah.
And they did
that's
that in BC times.
Yeah, it's interesting because when people found like El Mirador, they were like, "Oh, this has to be like a classic period city." And then when they started like actually running all the carbon dates, they were like, "No, like there's no classic dates here at all. This is
Entirely pre-classic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or mostly pre-classic anyway.
I think there's like a tiny bit of occupation there, like
Yeah.
during the classic, but like nobody's building anything new at that.
No.
Like, yeah.
The pre-classic sites sometimes become almost like a bit of a religious place that you might visit or something.
Yeah. So
It's,
just to give your viewers some background, so like ancient Maya civilizations basically divided into 3 periods. There's the pre-classic period, and I'm gonna have to like remember this off the top of my head here, but I think it's like 2000 BCE to about 200 CE. And then the classic period's about 200 CE to about 800 or 900. And then post-classic is about 900 to when the Spanish arrive. In pre-classic, that's when you see like the first Maya cities start getting built. And, at first they're not like, they're like not huge. They're not like this, but they get big pretty quick. Like they kind of just explode onto the screen. Dang it, I realized I should have had a picture of this, but there's a Maya site that got discovered several years ago called Aguada Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's basically, but when you look at it, it doesn't look like anything until you know, you realize that it's this very, very, very large. That's it there. Yeah. So like you can see that this is just like a big
Big
flat
platform.
area. Yeah, and if you like look at pictures of how it looks, it doesn't look like anything at the ground level, but you can see they, you know, lidar'd the area, and this like gigantic platform, you can see like there's you know, smaller platforms like flanking the edges of it. Like this is the biggest thing by volume that the Maya ever built. It's even bigger than that, you know, that picture of Tony now we were looking at earlier.
Yeah.
And so like even from an early date, like there's
And it's at the beginning as well.
huge, yeah, from an early times, like there's huge construction going on. And then to the point you made, like, you know, El Mirador is kind of like the very famous pre-classic city, and it's huge. It's gigantic. It has the largest Maya pyramid of all time there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, and so yeah, once pre-classic period ends and you get into the classic, that's I think where like the more famous like Maya sites date to. So sites like Tikal, sites like Palenque and Calakmul, you know, they're all like they all date to that time. So yeah, if you want to pull up Palenque here, this is one of the most famous Maya sites here. Man, now that I'm looking at this, I feel like somebody cranked up the brightness on this picture.
This
Like,
is the Temple of the Inscriptions, I believe.
yes.
This is
So,
where
yeah,
Pakal. Well, sorry, you carry on. I'm
Exactly.
just stealing your story.
No, you're good. But yeah, what you were saying, this is where Pakal, the guy, you know, in the jade mask, this is where he was buried. He's
Underneath
probably,
there.
yeah, he's probably, I think, like the most famous Maya ruler that's out there. Like, I mean, if you've played, well, yeah, you have because you brought this up earlier. You know, if you've played the Civilization games, you know who Pakal is because in a lot of those games, he's the ruler of the Maya.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
this is basically where he's buried. And his story is really interesting. He basically becomes king when he's like a 12-year-old kid, basically. And the city is like on really bad times. There's like a lot of inscriptions that like their temples had been stormed, their idols had been desecrated, and the like royal line is like about to like fail and go extinct. And then like they just bring up this kid who's like, you know, kind of like a, you know, cousin of like the royal dynasty, and he basically turns Palenque into like this regional powerhouse. You know, a lot of the famous construction at Palenque like is his own work, and he reigns for almost like 70 years. Like he has an insanely long reign. Like if you there's a Wikipedia article of like, you know, longest rulers of all time. And like I think it's like right below Queen Elizabeth II is Pakal or something. Like he reigned that long. So yeah, his story's really interesting, and he built the Pyramid of the Inscriptions as like his tomb, and his tomb was discovered, I think it was like in the 40s or 50s, and it's like one of the richest tombs that's ever been discovered
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
Americas.
And it was one of the first royal tombs kind of anywhere in the Americas that was excavated using modern methods because it was, you know,
Yeah.
it was after the Second World War, so it was relatively modern on archaeology.
Yeah.
The guy's name escapes me, but he's a very famous Mexican archaeologist. I can't remember what his name is.
Who? Or no, I don't think it's him.
It's gone from my mind, but he
Yeah, I think it is.
he did it. He did a good job, and it was very famous. Yeah, and made Pakal famous.
Yeah. So actually,
Which is what I
funny
think
enough-
Pakal would have wanted. That I think he'd be happy.
Yeah.
He got he
Knowing-
got a bit of immortality.
remembered.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's funny because that excavation took years because like if you can kind of imagine like a staircase going like down on the inside, like they filled that entire staircase up with like earth and rubble, so they had to carefully excavate like every step, literally every step of the way, to get all the way down to the chamber. And yeah, it
and then
took like
finally they got there. The sarcophagus lid is quite amazing as well.
yeah. Oh no, I didn't have that.
I'll just get a picture of that.
This is the problem, like finding these pictures. I was like, what do I have pictures of? But yeah,
I think
Pakal's sarcophagus lid is like really famous slash infamous if you're in like, like into like ancient aliens stuff.
I feel like we're going to just have to keep mentioning Ancient Aliens things because it's all the good stuff from history.
For
Those
better or
Ancient Aliens
worse,
guys, they
it's
just sort of
the stuff that gets attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here he is.
Yeah,
Imagine
this
coming across this after you've dug down for a good couple of years to get there. You finally get in, and you see this, and it's
off.
like, whew,
Yeah.
incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Now
there
for
he
those
is in his
now for
spaceship.
so for those who like okay, yeah, for those who like may not be aware, like this is commonly cited as like evidence of like an ancient astronaut because Bakal's at like in like a cockpit or something. What's
Yeah,
actually happening here is that Bakal is basically falling into like the jaws of the underworld. You can even see like the teeth at the very bottom of the panel. And then he's getting reborn into the sky, like resurrected from like the jaws of death, literally, like into the sky where he's going to become a god, you know. So, and again, like, we have Maya writing, like, we know what it says. Like, it's not like there's any, like, nobody ever really doubts this. Like, this is one of those things where, like, we're all fairly certain what's going on here.
yeah, and I mean, is that writing around the outside?
Those I believe
What are
are
they?
there's writing.
Glyphs.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, somebody will probably correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe like along, like not on the top, but like along the sides, on the edges, there's like writing there. But I think the
Yeah,
ones on the surface that you're looking at here, I think those are either calendar or day glyphs. I need to check on that though.
yeah.
Hmm.
I suppose yeah. Something that's really interesting about the Maya is that we know a lot more about them than we do most of these other cultures we're talking about because we have the Maya in their own words, and there's some evidence for kind of like the political rivalries and warfare and things going on between the different kingdoms, which I just find so infinitely fascinating. There was a time, 100 years ago or so, where the general consensus was that the Maya were very peaceful philosopher kings. They would spend their days looking at the heavens and generally getting on with each other. Now we know it's a bit more nuanced, and like most agricultural societies, they did practice warfare.
So
Interesting, isn't it?
So I always like to compare like I always like to compare like the ancient Maya to like the Greeks, where like you have a
Yeah,
bunch of states and like everybody's fighting, there's all
absolutely.
these shifting alliances, and it's like, can you imagine like if anybody like went through Greek archaeology, didn't read any Greek writings, and was just like, oh yeah, these people like got along and they were so
Yeah, yeah,
friendly with each other, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
it's like, no, that's not true. Like,
It's just a lack of understanding of humanity
yeah,
because when we have things, we will fight to defend those things.
yeah. Hmm.
As soon as ownership, individual ownership exists, there's going to be fights.
I think it's also like kind of a good lesson, like on interpreting the past, because I think when there are gaps in our understanding about the past, I think we like to fill them in with what we want to see. So I think when
Yeah,
Maya
yeah,
archaeology started taking off, in the wake of like the First World War,
that's right.
a lot of the people there were probably like, oh, these were like, a peaceful people who like never fought and they built all these beautiful buildings and they made all this beautiful art. And
Yeah,
like, it makes sense for why they would want that to be true, even though,
yeah,
now we know that that was not the case at all. So yeah, I think like every generation kind of like brings a certain bias to how they look at the past.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But what we do know about the Maya is that it's this just
Mhm.
yeah, as you say, the Greeks is a good comparison because it's many, 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 many political entities,
Yeah.
and sometimes they would ally with each other, sometimes they'd war against each other, and alliances would form, like with the two confederacies of Tikal and Calakmul, who would fight these things called Star Wars, which is an
Yeah.
awesome name, and they
Oh
basically have these alliances of cities basically, and they would sometimes allegiances would change, and they would yeah fight each other quite a lot.
Oh my gosh, I could talk about like those wars during the classic period for a long time, but that'll just probably take us way too long. Something gonna go look it up if they want.
But yeah, I mean,
Um,
if anybody wants to know more, we've each got videos
yeah,
on the Maya. So you've got a couple. You've probably got at least a couple. I've got one.
I've got
Yeah.
I think I've got like 5 or 6 episodes on the Maya, something like
Actually, I've
that.
got a few. Actually, now I think about it,
Yeah,
because I've got some on this channel as well as History
yeah,
Time. So
but
yeah,
yeah, I had some Maya art in here. Like this is kind of the art that like lives rent free in my brain. So
this is wood.
that's wood. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
So I first saw this when I went to the Met. I think it was like, yeah, it was back in 2020, right before everything shut down. But I ran into this guy at the Met Museum, and I was just like, how, like, what is the story behind this guy? Like, how the heck did he survive? What is he? And so I can't remember what the exact context that this guy was found in, but yeah, he's basically a sculpture from like, I think it's like the late classic period or something, and it's basically, it's a dwarf basically, and you can see like over his hands he is like a mirror pendant that he's holding, and it's, he's believed to be like some sort of like, priest or like religious figure or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize this, but like you'll occasionally see like a lot of like dwarves or like little people in Maya art, and from what I've read, like the Maya considered these people to be like touched by the gods. So they were seen as like, like as something very close to the divine. So that's why you see a lot of them like appear in a lot of art, like this one here. But I like this too because like not a lot of wooden art survives, and it's just really cool to see one that is so elegant and preserved so well.
It really
There must
makes you think, doesn't it? The amount of things that are going to be lost.
yeah, there were probably like thousands of wooden statues like this that have just been reclaimed by nature.
Yeah. It makes me think around the rest of the world as well. Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
Neolithic Europe, what's going to have been lost from 6,000 years ago, just insane amounts of things like this.
I can't remember who this was. This might have been like Kaylee or like Stefan Milo.
He's just done a video on wood in the ancient world, actually.
That's it. Okay, it's him. Yeah, because he was like, we could call this like the Wood Age, and I was like, I
Yeah.
love that statement. Like that is
Yeah.
just spot on. Now,
Absolutely.
go to the one that's in the British Museum. Oh, sorry.
I was just to add to what you were saying. This is Uxmal, which is one of my favorite sites, actually, covered
Yeah.
in just the incredible art everywhere. But the pyramid at Uxmal in legend, it was created. I may be butchering this, but there's a dwarf
No, you're
involved.
right.
It was created by a dwarf overnight, I think,
Yes.
doing some magic. So there we go. There's another dwarf reference.
Yeah. 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 Uxmal is one of my favorites. That style, you can see like it's really, really ornate. But yeah, We'll get to that later.
We've
Maybe.
got some more from the British. There's a lot of stuff in the British Museum.
Oh
This is
yeah.
this is auto sacrifice,
Yes. Well, yes. Yes. It
sort
is
of.
auto sacrifice. Yeah. Um. It's I usually call it bloodletting, but yeah, you could also describe it as auto sacrifice. So like this is one of my favorite pieces of Maya art. In my opinion, this is like an absolute masterpiece. If anybody wants to like fight or go arm wrestle in like, the parking lot or something, just tell me when and where. But I just think that this is like absolutely gorgeous. What's happening in this is that this is a king and a queen. The queen is like kneeling down, and if you zoom in on her, because I want to like draw attention to some of this.
There's a
Let-
knotted cord going through some things.
yeah. So, well, first of all, just like look at how she's dressed. Like you can see that the patterns are like carved into like her, into her wee pill, into her outfit. Like you can see like all the texture, all the patterns that are in it. It looks beautiful. This would have been painted back in the day, and it would
Yeah.
have like shown. It would have been gorgeous. But what she's doing here is she's running a rope that seems to have like barbs or thorns through her tongue to make it bleed. And if you scroll down a little bit, the blood is collecting on this paper that's in this pot. And what this whole ceremony is about, or what it's believed to be about, is that by bloodletting in this way and burning it, she's able to summon her like the spirits of her ancestors and ask for their intervention. Her husband on the left, he's got like the staff that has like the fire on the end of it, is basically is going to like go to war. So she's basically invoking her ancestors to help him. I mean, it's this beautifully powered scene. You have these gorgeous like glyphs and writing on the side that like name everybody in this picture, so we know exactly like who these people are. The queen is Lady Cabal Shook, and the king, I'm actually blanking on his name right now. Is this Bird Jaguar or is this Shield? It's either Bird Jaguar or Shield Jaguar. It's one of
Is this from Yakshilan?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is Yashilan. Yeah, you probably were like, oh yeah, if it's Bird Jaguar or Shield Jaguar, it's a Yashilan King, because there's like 5 people by those 2 names.
It's very metal, this scene. It's like,
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Like this is so gorgeous. I love, and like if you want to get like into like really nerdy areas, like I just love how the scene is composed. The staff like kind of divides this beautifully into like 2 registers with like the queen and the king on either side. Just like I love it. Like it's so great.
It's
so
hardcore, and there's an idea of the sacrifice thing being like just victims captured in battle being sacrificed. More so with the Maya, it's kings and queens doing things to themselves for their people, basically. So like there's also depictions of these cords going through like penises and things. So it's pretty intense at times. So
it's better than like it's better than like getting sacrificed on an altar or something. So
it's true.
Like,
it's true.
When you live in a world where like human blood is the most precious material, on the earth, the greatest thing you can offer to the gods, it's like auto sacrifice makes a lot of sense. You just bleed yourself in order to offer up that blood without killing anybody. It's
royal blood was super important. It's like the blood of kings, the blood of queens. It's almost you're you don't want to be taken captive by a rival king, because your blood would be then used by their dynasty,
Your blood is a great gift to the gods.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting. It's such a different world that they inhabited to our world, It's just you've got to really put yourself in their frame of mind.
It's
blood rituals.
It's really, really, really fascinating. Yeah,
it is. You can see why, to the Spaniards when they arrived, they were absolutely horrified by all this stuff. They thought it was devil worship and all this, but it's just.
I mean, to be fair,
different way of seeing the world.
I mean, to be fair, let's be real. Like, if you and I don't know, like, landed on another planet and then like witnessed a human or like alien sacrifice or something, like we'd probably kind of be really, at the very least we'd be uncomfortable, at the most we would lose our minds.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so you can see how and why what went down. What else have we got then? We can just talk about the codices briefly.
So the Maya are also famous for their writing. Now this is from the Dresden Codex, and this is like a recreation. It's not the original image. They've like kind of put some of the color back in and everything. But like we discussed earlier, like the Maya had writing at this point for centuries. We have copies of Maya books that are called codices that are basically made on bark paper. There's only like I think it's four, maybe 5 that
there's
are
not many
around. That were.
You carry on talking I'll just be back in one moment. Sure. I'm just gonna have a toilet break actually, which is first time I've done that on a stream. But you carry on talking.
So basically these codices were made out of bark paper. They were very fragile. That's why not a lot of them survive. The ones that we do have were basically taken by like the Spanish and transported back to Europe as, like souvenirs, curiosities, collectors' items, and have ended up in different, like different libraries, different archives or museums around Europe. And in fact, most of the codexes are basically named after where they're found. So there's like the Paris Codex, the Dresden Codex, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this is like a really, like a really good example of a famous codex. The Dresden Codex is believed to have originally been written in the classic period, but again, because these books are so fragile, because they're just not going to survive very long in the tropics, these books had to be copied over and over and over again. You can kind of think of like monks in Europe, writing the same book over and over again and making copies of old manuscripts. The same thing would have happened in the Maya area as well. So yeah, just talking about how like Maya codices had to be like basically had to be like copied down and remade over and over again, because they were so fragile, and the tropics are just frankly not a great area for books to preserve.
Yeah, that's why that wooden artifact, it's so incredible that it does survive, because most wood does not survive in that environment. It's a very wet environment.
Yeah.
In fact, it's not always wet. There are areas that are quite like dry forests.
Yeah,
generally,
or like very seasonal, where it might be like really dry for part of the year and then be really wet. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose I always think of the Maya as having probably the most sophisticated writing system in the Americas before European arrival. Would you agree with that, or
I think that's the general consensus. I think that's the general consensus, just because like it's it's a full it's like a full syllabary. It's like very flexible. The only other writing system that I know anything about in any kind of depth is like the Aztec script. And when you just like look at how that script works, like it's more flexible than it looks, but it's certainly not as flexible as Maya script is for like capturing spoken word. So
yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment.
And another thing as well, most paintings don't survive in the Maya area because it's quite wet. But this one from Bonampak, I'm glad that you put this one in here, because these are, I think there's 3 small little chambers.
Yes.
And the murals on these walls have miraculously survived to the present. And they depict these elaborate scenes.
Yeah. So just a little background on Bonampak. Bonampak is a fairly small site in the kind of like in the Yucatan region. Actually, no, I think it's in Guatemala. But I'm
trying to think. It's just in Mexico.
It's isn't it? Or no, it's not.
Yeah. It is. It's near Yaxchilan. Yeah, it's in Mexico, but it's almost on the border.
Okay, that's it. So either
way, I think the river, the river that it's on is on the border. Is the border?
Okay, yeah. So either way, like the site like wasn't particularly big or grand, but when archaeologists, were led to this site by the local Maya people, they basically found these murals in these temples. Now, to be clear, this is a modern recreation of it. So if you look at pictures of the original mural as it looks today, they're in a bit rougher shape than this.
Not quite as colorful as this.
Yeah, but I'm using the recreation to kind of show what this would have looked like back in the day. And like, it depicts this one depicts a royal court. There are ones of like kings that are like leading troops into battle. There's like images of like prisoners, musicians, like they're beautifully rich. You can see at the very bottom there's even writing, so we know like who commissioned these works, what this was all for. And you can just see like this is, beautiful. It's stunning. Like you look at like the blues, the greens on the reds, just it's gorgeous.
I love the depictions of the musical instruments. What songs were they playing? It's amazing, isn't it?
Every time I find like musical I come across musical instruments in archaeology or art, I'm just like, what kind of sounds like did those make?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Also, before we
Phew.
leave that, one thing that's interesting about the murals there is you'll notice that like there are certain things that aren't covered. You can see that there are certain blocks where there's no writing. The reason is that this was never finished. Like Bonampak was basically abandoned as this was being done. It's kind of like everybody just dropped their tools and walked away from it. So
So this is at the very end of the classic era.
yes, yeah, this is the very end. So when everything's reaching its crescendo.
Interesting. It's
Oh yeah,
often the case that the most ambitious projects are attempted right before the end.
yeah,
In
right,
in archaeology, when you look at like various places all around the world, it's often the big
yeah,
things as like a last gasp, last I can't remember what the phrase is, like an effort, just a big
yeah.
effort right before the end.
Mhm.
Maybe even to like try and shore everybody up together, but then it failed.
Come on, guys, don't you want to see these awesome paintings that I'm going to
Yeah,
commission?
yeah, yeah. But
We
it's
don't
sort of
have any food, sir. We have to leave.
it's propagandistic, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
this projection of power. This is them trying to show their
Well, this
subjects or whatever.
was in a temple, so I'm not even sure that this is public art. Like, I'm not sure how many
Oh,
people would even go in there. So I'm not sure
maybe
if this.
they're showing the gods how great they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to double. I'd have to. That's something I'd have to read into. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think this is necessarily public.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, if you wanted to go now to the plate, this is another one of my
Let's
favorite
have a look
pieces
at
of
this
art.
plate then.
Yeah, so this is showing a scene from the Maya creation story. So there's three people in here. There's the one in the middle, the two on the sides. The two on the sides are the son of the man in the middle, whose name is One Hunapoo. He basically goes to the underworld to fight the lords of the underworld. He's killed. His twin sons later go down, defeat the lords of death, and then they resurrect him. They resurrect him, and he becomes the maize god, or basically the corn god. You can think of it that way. And you can see here he's basically coming out of like a turtle's back that's meant to represent the earth itself, and he's ascending into the sky. This I love this piece. I think it's like super gorgeous. It's got it's got like the writing that like names everybody on it. And it's a piece from Maya mythology that we understand. We know what this is depicting. Like
Yeah,
to go back to when we were discussing about Nazca, you find a lot of supernatural imagery in there, but we don't really know what it means. And this is an
yeah,
example where
exactly.
we know exactly what's going on here and how it fits into the story and mythology.
And it's an interesting way of thinking about it because most Maya people were not literate. But
No.
if you were a Maya person and you looked at this, you'd know what it's talking about.
Yeah. I
Same
think
as
you're right.
if you were a Nazca person and you looked at some of the iconography, the mythological scenes, you'd know what they were talking about. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, with no writing, we just don't know because we've got no
Yeah.
frame of reference.
hmm
But yeah, if you were a Nazca person and you saw the scene, you'd know.
Yeah. So I mean, so
You'd
it's
be
just like
like,
stained glass windows in a church. Like if you're a medieval peasant and you see like I don't know, you see like
you know
Moses'
Jesus.
glass window. Yeah, you know exactly
You can
who it is,
recognize Jesus.
even if his name isn't there.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah, yeah. You know, like I don't know, John the Baptist or whatever, or
Saint
you
Peter,
know the
Saint
people
Paul. Yeah.
depicted.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, okay. I'm
Isn't
not sure
writing
how.
great?
Yeah. I'm not sure how we're doing on time. If you want to jump to like the next
Let's
culture,
go.
we
Well, we're gonna go back to Peru, but we're gonna go to a culture where I I like to think of them as the Peruvian Maya. I think there are
Oh
I
yes.
think there are similarities between the Moche and the Maya. So where should we start? Let's start with some of these scenes. I
Basically,
mean,
stand Maya.
yeah, Sand
Beach
Maya. So these are essentially mythological scenes from the Moche world. These have been discussed for decades now, and all sorts of ideas have been come up with as to what's going on. This is some sort of decapitator deity, basically,
Yeah.
and this is a sacrificial victim,
Mhm.
unfortunately. and there were many sacrificial victims in the Moche world because a little bit like the Maya or the Aztecs, it's this society basically of, it looks like city states
Yeah.
essentially. So they're these rival city states. They wage wars against each other. They live in the river valleys basically along the Peruvian coast in the desert. In these areas where there's a bit of water, and essentially they're what, again, like the Nazca, what they do is they try and maximize that water. And like the Maya, they build massive pyramids. Unfortunately, they do it out of adobe bricks, which do not survive very well down the generations. So in their time, this would have looked like an incredible, vast pyramid structure, very impressive. Now it kind of looks like a mound of earth. I mean, I think it looks awesome, but
It's a pyramid that flew too close to the sun.
yeah, and it's sort of melted basically. It's like a melted candle.
Do you mind me asking what site is that?
This is, I believe, El Brujo.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is El Brujo. So this is
Because normally when
a bit of the inside.
okay, because yeah, I feel like normally when I see the pictures, like they're usually from like the front. I don't get to see many from the side. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Is this El
Those
Brujo?
bricks-
This
those
might
bricks-
be Huaca de la Sol.
Okay, yeah,
I should have marked it.
no problem.
But let me see if I can work it out. Do.
Now that one is Huaca de la Luna, right?
Yeah, this is Huaca de la Luna. So the first one was El Brujo,
Okay, got it.
which means kind of the wizard or the shaman, which is a cool
Yeah.
name for a settlement, I always think. And it shows that there's sort of this idea that these places were almost like religious sort of places where things were going on, and there's still the concept now that, I mean, sort of wizards still exist in Peru in a way.
Yeah. Actually,
Which I always think is really interesting. It's sort of like this shamanic tradition somehow potentially survived.
do you know who Ed Barnhart is?
Yes.
Okay. So he tells this story about this one time he was at one of the Moche, pyramid sites, like one of the Wakas, and he was talking to the guard basically about like what you were just saying, and the guard was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a brujo myself. Like this is that's my real
Yeah.
job. Like
Yeah.
security around here is like my part-time job. I just do it so I can like, be by the ruins and stuff." And he was like,
Yeah.
like, "Are you being serious? What?" So yeah, it's still a living tradition in some
And
ways.
it's kind of, because Catholicism is a bit like that. You can incorporate a bit of an older worldview into Catholicism,
There's a
and that is,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, that's how a lot of these things survive. So they make their way into the Christianity that comes along. So you can be a Christian and a Brujo, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, so this is the decoration that would have been on these pyramids, basically. So it's like big public architecture, projections of power, sacrificial victims here. There's decapitated deities. And a load of this iconography, which you could read entire books on it. Ultimately, we don't really know because there isn't writing, but there's a lot of good theories and good ideas about what's going on. It seems like there's an interest in sort of like bodily fluids, weirdly, which is kind of similar to the blood thing.
Yeah.
So I always think that, yeah, it's pretty similar to the Maya in a way. Same sort of frame of reference for me anyway when I'm considering these places.
It was amazing when we have colors like that survive from like architecture, because it's not very, it doesn't happen that often.
Some pretty brutal scenes going on.
I always say, like, if one thing that's always like completely different between like, ancient, like, kind of like the classical Western tradition is that like if people are nude in like, ancient Greek, ancient Roman sculpture, it's usually like a good thing, like showing off how like sexy your body is. But if you're ever nude in like ancient America art, it's like it's because you've been captured and you're probably going to get executed.
Yeah, you're not necessarily having a great time.
Yeah.
One of the wild things as well is when I was there, somebody told me this. I don't know if it's been archaeologically verified or anything, but apparently there's an idea that if you were going to be sacrificed, they'd give you a psychedelic trip beforehand, basically. So you'd have peyote and you might be tripping while you're being sacrificed, which sounds absolutely horrendous.
I've heard that too, but again, like I've never read it in a good source. I've never
Yeah,
seen,
that's the
like,
thing, isn't it? It's like
I mean, to be fair, like if I was going to be sacrificed, I guess I'd rather be tripping while it's happening, but
I don't know, man. I mean, it'd be
not be sacrificed at all.
you get up to the top and there's a guy dressed like this.
Oh man.
Oh man. Also, there's a dog everywhere. On many of these scenes, there's always a dog. What's going on with that dog? There's an idea that maybe it could be. I think Ed Barnhart talks about this actually, where he's like
I think
positing
he does
that
too. Yeah.
maybe it's the fanged deity in the form of a dog. Maybe it's like a shamanic thing. Someone's transformed into the dog, or maybe that dog is just like one of the gods.
Yeah.
But he's often there.
Yeah.
This guy is drinking some sort of blood vessel, or maybe it's not blood.
Most of the stuff that I read on it is into like the blood theory, and I want to say that like they found that they've actually tested like a cup from like a ceremonial site, and it had like blood residue on it.
Yeah.
So whether that happened like all the time or this is like a one-off, I don't know. But like, I feel like the
I
theory
wouldn't be
has-
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, the Moche were like they were a pretty bellicose bunch.
They were. So this is in the museum in Lima, and I just wanted to show this because it just
That's
the
the Larco
sheer.
Museum?
This is the Larco Museum, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This is they let you into the back. Basically, they let you into the storage units, and you can just get a sense of the sheer scale of how many pots there are. There's
That is
absolutely tens of thousands of these things. Because the way that it works, I'm sure you know, is Peru basically suffers from a lot of looting. Because there's a lot of poverty in the rural areas, and people will loot ancient sites in order to sell the artifacts. So Larco Hoyle, he basically was a landowner, and he told his workers, if you find something like this, don't sell it to anybody else, sell it to me, and I'll give you, a little bit more. And so he acquired this outrageously huge collection of just so many different pots, and mostly moche pots. And it just shows the sheer sort of quantity of these things that were being made. And the way that they do it in this museum, they arrange them into themes. So you have like a whole collection where it's hunting theme, a whole collection where it's like whatever else, religious scenes.
Yeah.
And there's just so many of them. And
Man,
they're
that's a
really
museum
well made.
Visit someday.
And so many of them just have really unique faces. So it's like naturalistic style. This is a person, It's got to be a person.
It's an individual. Yeah.
It's an individual. It's an individual. He's got this little sort of dimply bit on his lip. And yeah, just absolutely loads of them. And look at the sheer skill of making this. It's amazing. I could not even attempt something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
This is a
absolutely
tradition
fascinating.
that's sort of passed down, isn't it?
You look into like a lot of like those portrait vessels, and it's just like it's a 1,000-year-old face staring right back into you. Yeah.
It's just so many different ones. Like, look at him and then here. They're just all different. All so different.
Man, that
Possibly
is just
the most.
so many that they're just like packing them all into shelves.
Yeah.
Like,
And
that
we've got
is
the
so-
sex pots as well, but I'm not even going to really talk about them because they actually don't make up that many of the. Like, there are a lot of the sex pots, but it's just because there's so many pots.
Yeah.
Most of the pots are like faces or hunting scenes and
Or,
scenes
like,
of warfare.
Yeah.
A lot of them are actually just fruit and
Yeah, yeah.
vegetables.
Hmm.
So you have ones where it's just like this is a piece of corn, this is
Yeah.
a squash,
Or like here's some
or
peppers. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I quite like those ones. Um,
Or the
right,
I also really like there's like a lot of like pots that are made like ducks and where like the handle goes between like the head and the body, and I always think that those are like gorgeous. Ooh,
yes, I
there's
agree. I agree. This is a depiction of the Lord of Sipan, or one of the
ah
Lords of Sipan,
yeah
anyway, which is this area. I suppose a little bit like the discovery of the tomb of Pakal. The archaeological site of Sipan was a massive discovery, one of the biggest discoveries in the history of archaeology in the New World, because it's just this exquisite collection of graves, completely untouched by looters, and the sheer wealth of artifacts tells us just immense amounts about the Moche world.
if I recall, it's the most like it's the richest tomb that's ever been found in North or South America.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah,
it is. It's not just. This is the thing. It's not just one tomb. I think it's
yeah,
like 10 or 11
it's
different graves
many.
in this site. Yeah, yeah, like a whole complex, and all of them basically are similar. They're covered in metal artifacts. There's so much gold that it just blows your mind, and also all sorts of other things. Everything they would need for the afterlife, basically.
Yeah,
And they're buried here with what looks to be sacrificial victims with them to accompany them to the next life. I probably should have actually done some research on this beforehand, but I think it's about 10 or 11 graves, something like this,
something like
like
that.
major ones, and then there's
Hmm.
subsidiary ones as well. Uh, yeah, and they probably looked a little bit like this. But there's all sorts of crazy things in there as well. So this is a crab
Oh yeah,
god, if you could call it that, a crab deity, something like
crab.
this. He's got
Crab
heads around his neck.
like I always so whenever I see the crab deity, I always think to myself, I'm like, this guy's a meme waiting to happen.
Yeah,
Like
it should be. Yeah, it needs to be memed.
it's like it's so striking. Yeah, and you see him like painted on pots too. Like I don't know, he's got a bright future on the internet.
He should be famous. He should be famous. There's the Batman of the Maya world.
Oh
You
yeah,
seen him?
yeah,
Batman. Yeah,
yeah.
he should be more famous as well. And yeah, this elaborate headdress of one of the lords of Sipan.
Man, that's unbelievable.
It's cool, isn't it? And then he's got these
Yeah.
heads around his neck. Big old bling.
You imagine like walking out like on a sunny day like that, you would just blind everybody, like in the sun. Like
Yeah.
you would absolutely like shine.
Yeah.
You'd radiate.
You would shine, you would radiate. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you got to think of him standing out in the heat of the midday sun. Whew, impressive.
Now those come from the like are those from like the Sipan Museum or are those
They are,
from...
yeah, they are
Okay,
from the Sipan Museum, which is one of the best museums I've ever been to. It's absolutely insane, really is. And there was nobody there at all. No one goes to northern Peru.
I've heard that like yeah, if you go to like the north coast and like there's a lot of famous cultures that are there. There's a lot of amazing archaeological sites there. But yeah, but the people I've talked to are like, "Oh yeah, we went there and like nobody was at this site." And I'm just like,
No one there.
"People nuts?"
You go to
Uh,
the Inca sites around Cusco, and you can barely move
oh
for
yeah.
tourists.
You go to
But you go
Machu
to
Picchu,
the,
they literally
you can barely move. Yeah,
yeah,
you
it's
go
like you're going through a line practically.
absolutely. You go up to the north, and you have the place to yourself. Highly recommend northern Peru, everybody. It is really awesome. And yeah, this is a pyramid.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of the biggest pyramids, or would have been one of the biggest pyramids in the world, but largely it's been destroyed. The Spaniards actually tried to divert a river to destroy it, and it didn't work. They managed to melt a little bit of it, but they didn't, because they thought if they diverted a river, the gold would just sort of fall out.
If I
But it
recall,
it didn't quite work that way. What's
well,
that?
didn't they? Or maybe I'm thinking of like a different pyramid, a different place. But I thought they like washed away like a whole section of the pyramid doing that. Or
Yeah, they
something.
did.
Same
did,
one.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But even it's still gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Such a massive feature of the landscape that
So do
they
they
could
let you
barely even
do
touch
they
it.
let you go on top of that or no? Like, are you just allowed to look at it?
The sites that I visited, I went to Sipan, El
Mm.
Brujo, and Huaca de la Luna de la Sol. You can't climb on top of any of those ones. I
Okay.
believe, well, I know that there are lots of other moche places. Some of them aren't even protected. You could climb on those ones,
Okay.
the ones
I
that are
mean,
a little
not that I
bit
would. I'm
further
just
out.
kind of curious if, like, yeah, because I've like never seen any views from the top or anything. So I would imagine, yeah, most of those are closed.
Yeah. Um, they're all over the place. Yeah, I'd love for some more work to be done in the Moche region, like a fresh study, because I think lidar and things like that could be really good. Because there's just
That's a good
tons
point.
of these
Yeah.
places. It would be awesome to map the entire area and try and work out, different spheres of influence or something like that. I don't even know if anybody's done that. What else can I say? I think that's probably it. Do you want to say anything about the Moche?
I mean, you put it really well. It's like the Maya of the Moche Coast. Oh yeah, everybody loves the erotic art, and
I had to do it.
some of that erotic art is like just really wild stuff you can't unsee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the size of this appendage is the size of me. This is actually just like a public park.
I was about to say for the true size queen.
Yeah, I think there's like there's like playing field behind it, football field.
That'd be so wild. Like, we're gonna go to like a kid's soccer game, and then you're greeted with this.
Yeah, yeah. So there we go. We got the sex pot on there eventually. Well, that actually wasn't a sex pot, but yeah. What have we got next?
Oh,
So I thought we do Chimu.
Yeah, I was about to say the Moche Part 2,
Yes.
Moche sequel. So yeah, if the Moche are like, I'm trying to like draw like if the Moche are like the Etruscans of Italy, the Chimu would be like the Roman Empire, basically the whole Italy unified.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
A better way, I think, would be like if the Moche are the Italian city-states of the Renaissance, then the Chimu are like united Italy, post 1850. So,
or maybe the Venetian Empire.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
So,
no, yeah, that's a good analogy.
So yeah, the okay, so the Chimu are basically the same people as the Moche, just several centuries later. We talked briefly, when we were discussing the Nazca, how like the Wari Empire comes and like kind of takes over the Nazca area. They also take over a lot of that Moche area. Well, when the Wari Empire falls apart, there's a city on the coast that kind of starts to rise up, and it's this city here. This is called Chan Chan. It's literally right on the beach, and you can look in the corner, you can see the beaches right there. It's one of the few like ancient capitals that I'm aware of that's built one of the few ancient capitals in the Americas that's built right on the shore of the coast. But the city kind of starts to rise up. It starts to get rich from like a lot of trade up and down the coast. I'm sure you know that like spondylus shell is always like a big deal and everything. Actually
It's one of the biggest cities in the New World when the
Mhm.
Europeans get there, for sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive.
giant.
And it's a city that's made out of adobe, just like those just like those Moche pyramids were. But the picture that you're showing here, like these adobe buildings are like all decorated with like all these like carvings like into the adobe itself.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful. Like if you just go Google Chan Chan, you'll see like thousands of like different carvings. You'll see like, little squirrels, you'll see like fish, you'll see birds, and just it's unbelievable like how like the craftsmanship that went into like building this area and all the buildings in there. But what ends up happening over time is that like Chan Chan kind of gets bigger and bigger. And at some point, it starts like kind of annexing its neighbors or like getting them to join some sort. Yeah, here's a great one. Yeah, where you see like the little animals along the walls there. Um, but yeah, Chan Chan starts like getting more and more powerful. It starts like absorbing its neighbors, and it eventually kind of unifies that entire northern coast where the Moche were. Like, where they had been a bunch of city states before. Now it's just one kingdom, or I should say one empire, because it's called now the Chimor Empire.
Yeah,
And it
they
eventually,
they they achieved something the Moche could never have done,
yeah,
and it's quite extraordinary because the Moche were fighting amongst themselves for hundreds and hundreds of years. No one state managed to, as far as we're aware, take over all the rest of the others.
yeah,
But then the Chimu do it.
yeah, and they really create the only coastal empire that you ever see, like in South America that I'm aware of, that's like politically united. And they even there's a kingdom to the north that's called Sikan. They eventually annex that and conquer it completely. And what's really cool is that like Chimor was, by the time the Spanish arrived, like there were people alive who would have like been born within the Chimu Empire. This was something that would have been in memory. Like, had history been just a little bit different, the Spanish might have encountered two empires in the New World. They might have encountered the Inca, and they might have encountered the Chimor Empire as well. But that's not the reality we got. So,
Yeah, yeah, because it really was.
Yeah,
We still have the line of kings of the Chimu.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
names of the kings survive because it was
yeah,
within
there's a
living
lot of
memory.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, chronicles that like, yeah, talk about Chan Chan and the Chimor Empire and stuff. So it's really interesting. And at least outside of Peru, it doesn't get talked about. Like, I feel like the Moche are actually more famous than the Chimu because of their art, because of like all
Probably
those
it's
like, beautiful portrait pots and
yeah.
stuff.
Well, and the sex pots. I mean, that the erotic
Yeah.
pottery is why they're famous. I think, sadly,
Chimu
'cause-
have the Chimu have like sex pots and erotic pots too. Not as many as the Moche, but like they do have them. If you Google them, you can find them. But they also have like, yeah, like the metalwork that we saw among the Moche. Like you can see in this example, that's still going on during the Empire of Chimor.
yeah,
In fact, yeah, it's probably. I wonder if, because you got to imagine, like the rulers of the empire are probably conquering people, taking the best craftsmen from every part of the empire and being like, all right, I need you guys to make me, this like this incredible like outfit, headdress, or whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, they kind of have like access to resources that would have been, the envy of their Moche ancestors.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I mean, they were probably. I would have thought maybe the biggest challenge that the Inca faced.
Yeah. I need to dig more into Inca Chronicles to see if they talk about to see what they say about that conquest in detail. I still haven't done a Chimor episode yet, but everybody keeps requesting one, so
That would be awesome. I'd love for you to do that. Yeah,
someday. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. And one thing that's interesting about the Chimor as well is that like you mentioned this earlier, we have like chronicles about them, but like the chronicles record like a founding figure that like comes from the sea and founds the city of Chan Chan, and it's like a really interesting story. Like somebody who came from the sea. Was this like somebody from like Ecuador or like somebody else in Peru? Like it's a really really fascinating story.
Interesting. Or was it somebody who just wanted to portray themselves as different to the rest of the people?
Very well.
That. Yeah.
Very well could be the case. I mean, at the end of the day, like a lot of what gets recorded is the propaganda, the official line.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. Now, if you here close out of this, I've got some other art examples as well, and let me see here. Oh, that's yours. All right.
That's mine again. Here we go.
So we both have the same name. That's the problem.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, like if you click on the pot and stuff,
Frog
right
pot.
there. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So like you can see like same people that made the moche pots are making these pots. It's got that same round shape. It's got the effigy built on it. You know, the handle is broken in this one, but you can see it's the same kind of curved handle that comes up to a spout.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of through lines between the moche and the chimu. And yeah,
This is nice.
I'm a big sucker for like I'm a big sucker for stuff that's I'm blanking on the name. What do you call it? Where you like take like shell and metal and you're putting it into something.
A composite.
Okay.
I know what you mean. There is a proper word for it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna think of it tonight. You know, when I'm going to bed. But
I
yeah,
mean,
then,
I just love the sheer intricacy of the metalwork. It really just, whenever I
yeah,
see intricate metalwork, it impresses me because this is really,
yeah,
it's a very small thing.
yeah. This is a
This
deer
is
flare. So like this is
blown up bigger than it
that
is. So
yeah, this is
yeah,
jewelry that would have sat in your ear. Um, and yeah, just like it's insanely intricate. Like this is the work of a master. You know, there's
yeah.
no other way to put it. But yeah, no, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Something else that is interesting about Chan Shan that I always think about is it seems like each of the rulers of the empire, they would build their own palace, and then they would possibly be, that would be left as a memorial to them, kind of thing, and then the next one would build another palace. So it's
Hmm.
this big complex of palace on palace on palace on palace on palace.
It's funny because you see something similar among the Inca as well. Like they'll have like their personal like the Sapa Inca will have like his personal like estate for lack of a better term. And when he dies, like that estate is not inherited by somebody. Instead, you know, like it basically just remains his house. Like and then
And
his
he
son.
never dies.
Yes.
He is still around, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
and people will still make a toast to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's actually something I'm remembering. Because when the Inca conquered Timor, don't they take the mummies of like the Chimu rulers back to back to Cuzco and basically hold them hostage? If
Yeah.
I recall, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's this. I don't know if this is true, but I think there's speculation the Wari may have done a similar thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because the Inca basically they copied a lot of stuff from the Wari.
Well, I mean that's. I feel like that's kind of because in ancient Mesopotamia, don't like idols get taken from like different cities and moved?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
I
big,
want to say
yeah, definitely,
Koreans
definitely.
do that. Yeah. So like that's yeah, it's
And
pretty
in
standard.
Mesopotamia, a carving of a king was usually seen as the actual king, like it was seen as one and the same.
Yeah.
So if you insulted a statue of the king, you were insulting the king himself. So you wouldn't do that.
Kind of like how North Korea always has like the statues of like you know the supreme ruler on the wall, and you're always supposed to like bow in front of it. And
Yeah,
if you like,
because
don't wear the pin or whatever, you like go to jail or I don't know what it is.
yeah,
Like
yeah, 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 yeah. Similarities between North
yeah,
Korea and ancient hierarchical monarchies. There's many of them.
yeah, nothing ever changes.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Um, yeah, what were we just saying? Similarity, yeah, because the Inca, the next one I'll talk about as well is the Chachapoyas area, and the Inca did the same thing there. They basically, it was a way of subjugating a new people because you don't want to lose your link to your ancestors, so you just go
Oh,
along with the new
no.
system if they've got your ancestral mummies.
Ancestry is
It's
everything in
everything.
these.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's where you derive your status. It's where you derive like your power, your authority, your right
yeah,
to rule, your
yeah,
land. Just everything comes from it.
absolutely everything.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think
which
the
other
first
ones
in
shall
there,
we
the
share?
first one is we haven't gone on that. This is
Oh, we've not even mentioned textiles.
yeah. Well, the problem is that not a lot of textiles survive unless you're like, you know, unless you're in the Andes or on the coast or something. They're always
Yeah.
just they're always so
So this
beautiful.
is something that the Paracas culture, which we didn't talk about today, but it's the precursor to the Nazca. They have some of the greatest textiles, I think, anywhere in the world. And
Oh yes,
because
yes.
they
Mhm.
really do live in the desert, their textiles often do survive, and they would wrap their deceased in these incredible textiles, and they are the greatest masterpieces of their world, and they're valued higher than gold. And
Mhm.
yeah, there was a
I mean,
huge amount of artistry that went into these textiles, and many of them depict mythological scenes.
yeah. And like I don't know, like it's funny because I feel like we don't think of textiles very highly today just because like our clothes, are just mass produced and everything, and
Definitely,
have
because
a
they get
have a design
it.
printed on it.
Yeah,
But
it's all
like
been automated in factories for us.
yeah, but like something like this, it's like this would have taken something this complex would have taken months, like months of like a master's work to do,
Yeah,
like maybe even
yeah,
longer than that. And like, I don't know if that's the case for this piece, but like, I know that like the really, really fancy like Wari tunics that you see, they're like, they're woven on both sides. It's not just a design on the front. They also did the same design on the back. So they had to weave everything like twice in there. Like, and the
yeah,
amount of extra work just to do a side that's never seen is like mind boggling that somebody would have that you would have somebody work that long on it.
yeah. Absolutely.
Hmm.
This is immense skill passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah. Hmm. Truly, yeah. Yeah. And like not and just and then beyond that, like all the colors, like there's like how many different colors in here, how many different pigments you would have to get and like mix up, dye your threads. Like that's one thing I
Yeah,
think people
you
don't
got to dye
realize.
the thread. Yeah,
People don't realize this. I think when they think about like artists who worked with color basically before the industrial revolution, it's like if you want a certain color you had to make it yourself. You had to have this really good understanding of like what kind of plants, what kind of minerals that you could use to create different pigments. Then you have to like take those, you have to make sure that they're stable and that the color's like not going to fade or that it's going to stick to whatever medium you're putting it on. You have to be able to make enough of it, you have to be able to mix them properly and know what's going to mix and what's not going to mix together. And like, yeah, just like the amount of skill that
yeah,
like just that alone took would have been mind boggling. Like today we just go to the store, we get like, those like little like, tubes of like paint, we put them onto the palette and just paint onto a canvas or something or dye what we need to dye. And like nobody had that back then. They just had to
no.
do it all from scratch.
There's a real science to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really
Mm-hmm.
is.
I think that was all the images we had there. Oh, except for the standing male figure on the bottom left, but I just like him. Again,
It's
this is like
another
wooden
wood one.
sculpture that survived. So yeah. I'm not sure. Again, I haven't really looked at this. I just think it looks cool, but I don't know if this is like part of a larger piece or something. So
Is he drinking some chicha?
I'm not sure. It almost looks like he's holding something,
Yeah,
like
could be
maybe it's like
holding
a
something.
staff that's like broken at the bottom or something. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, maybe he is like drinking something. I'm not sure.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one. We'll go north. We've we've spoken about the Chimor, who were sort of on the desert flank of the Inca. The Inca come down from the highlands in the Andes. They take out the Chimu, and then the next, I think the next people they come across, maybe it's simultaneous, but it's a
Hmm.
people called the Chachapoyas. So again, it's in northern Peru, but it's up in the highlands in northern Peru, and going into Amazonia. So what you have basically is, if I can find my images. Again, I haven't put a map on. Whoops.
Well, we didn't put a map of the Chimu either, so.
No, we didn't either. All right, imagine the Inca Empire and imagine the top
like,
of it, basically.
Yeah. Remind me if I'm wrong. Like the Chachapoyas, like, are kind of like if you were in the Timor Empire and went into the mountains, into like the high mountains, those or I guess the tropical mountains, those are where the Chachapoyas are, correct?
That's right. That's
okay.
right.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I actually don't know a ton about the Chachapoyas. I'm sorry to admit, but this is going to be interesting. You definitely know more than me.
Well, I mean, there isn't a lot that is known about the Chachapoyas. It's one of the, in a way, blank spots on the map because it's a vast area and it's full of archaeology, absolutely full of archaeology. Every single sort of square mile has something in it. The amount of sites that are actually recorded is like minimal in this area. It's been estimated as one of the most rich archaeological areas on the planet, basically, because it's remote, it's up in the mountains, it's a very forested area. There's vast areas of sort of vaguely uncharted forests, really, and only little bits of it have been sort of charted and surveyed, really. So this is the Chachapoyas area, down on the coast. That's the Chimu area and the Moche area as well. The Inca start off, where's Cusco? Down here somewhere, and then they make their way up and they conquer the Chachapoyas. And the Chachapoyas have been conquered just before the Europeans arrive, essentially. And one of the reasons why the Europeans are successful in the Inca Empire is they can exploit the people who've recently been subjugated by the Inca into rising up against them. And the Chachapoyas are some of those people who kind of have a lot of enmity against the Inca because the Inca had come along in the previous generation, taken their ancestral mummies basically back to Cusco, as we mentioned, and sort of they're kept hostage and they're incorporated into the empire forcefully. But yeah, they're really interesting people because I love the mystery. I love an area where there's not a huge amount that's known.
Yeah.
I've lost control here. Where are we? Okay, so we've looked at the map. Now we will look at one of the most interesting things for me. So this is a mausoleum. So this is up in the cliffs.
Is that made out of adobe or is that like carved in?
This is. It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. It's a structure on top of the cliffs, basically. So it's like added onto the cliffs.
Got it. Okay.
This is another one. I've not actually chosen the best pictures, but just imagine vast sheer cliff faces. So huge cliff faces, and just in the middle of a gigantic cliff, there'll be something like this. And this is
where, this is like a tomb. Then?
This is a tomb. This is a tomb.
It. Okay.
So people essentially were climbing up here or climbing down from the top, and they were putting their dead in places like this, and they're just absolutely everywhere, and they're all quite different to each other as well. So just within the Chachapoyas area, there's like lots of variety in how the dead are interred, because Revash is completely different, and it's got all of these interesting carvings all over it. There's even some depictions of people there. You can see someone's managed to climb up there because there's a bit of a modern graffiti on there.
Yeah, right.
But generally, probably, yeah. A lot of these are just completely untouched. Here we go. There's a slightly better example. So it's like this essentially. And then you stood there and you're trying to work out what am I looking at. And this one you can see here.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Yeah, those ones are famous. I see pictures of those.
These ones are quite famous, yeah.
Yeah, I see pictures of those on the internet, but don't know.
And what these are, this is like one of the most famous examples, but there's literally thousands and thousands of these guys all over the place. This is sort of a more mundane example, I think, of the same thing.
Yeah. So people are coming back and like putting more bodies into these tombs like over the years. So these are like
Yeah,
continuously used sites. Okay, that's
they
what
are. So one community will use one of those sites, basically, is what seems to be. This is a typical Chachapoyas settlement. It's really different to a lot of the other things in Peru. So
Yeah.
they have these circular structures. The way that it's quite elaborate architecture, stone built,
Yeah.
and they have these interesting patterns along them. And these patterns, the same ones will show up regularly. So
So this is common across the whole culture, is what you're saying.
yes,
Okay.
archaeologists. I've read some reports basically where some archaeologists think that maybe it's like there's the zigzag people, and then there's like the diamond people sort of thing. So I don't know if that is the case, but people have speculated whether this shows off maybe a clan association or something like this. Maybe they just liked the design. But yeah, you just get these things all over the place, and they're just so different and weird because this is really just on a cliff face. So it's a village kind of built into a cliff
So are
with
these
these
people
platforms.
so are these people like farming like on the cliffs? Are they like terracing it?
Yes, they were terracing a little bit like the Inca. They had lots of different crops, and depending on what altitude you're at, you can grow different crops. So they tended to be. You'd have some crops being grown on the bottom of the valley, others at different altitudes, essentially. So because they're really up in the mountains.
Yeah, it's a
What other images have I got
cloud
for you?
forest, isn't it? Right?
Say again.
I was about to say, isn't like most of it like cloud forest, or am I
Yeah.
confusing with something else?
Yeah, it is. Chachapoyas, I believe, means people of the clouds.
Oh, well, there you go.
So that's their thing. Yeah, they're like these mysterious people because they were mysterious to other Peruvians basically, and they were
That's that's kind of funny because if you
Yeah.
go to Mexico, there's also a people there called the Cloud People, the Mixtec. So I just think it's funny that
is that what Mixtec means?
yeah, literally means cloud people, or
Nice.
people of the clouds. Yeah.
But basically, this is all preamble to the main feature, which is Quaylap. I don't know if you've ever heard of this place.
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it. So
Quaylap is a citadel on top of a mountain, basically, and it's. I just showed you a relatively small settlement with the rounded houses. Quaylap has hundreds of these structures all over it, and the walls of Quaylap are just absolutely baffling. They're massive. It really is just gigantic architecture.
so is it?
Oh, here
so
we
is
go.
it? Wait, is this a wall? Oh,
That's
whoa.
a wall,
That's not
yeah.
an
So
Oh, okay.
it's insane.
Oh,
It's absolutely insane. It's a wall, but it reinforces the natural
yeah.
cliff kind of thing. if you see what I
Okay.
mean.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, like, that looks like something out of like a fantasy book or something. That is absolutely crazy.
It does. Yeah,
Yeah.
Quaylap literally is straight out of a fancy book. Because the scale of Quaylap is quite substantially bigger than most other Chachapoyas sites. There are some other ones that vaguely compare, but they're really out in the middle of nowhere. There's one called Gran Paya 10, and it's. I mean, I don't know if any archaeology's going on there at the moment, but it's another huge sprawling site. But it's just in the middle of the rainforest. You can't get there. There's no roads. There's none of this stuff, and it's
So,
off
you
limits
mentioned that-
basically.
You mentioned that this was a fortress, but like, was it also like a town or a city? Like, was there like a substantial population like living here and farming too, or is this
Yes,
strictly military architecture?
there's a permanent settlement
Got
here.
it. Okay.
It's probably not military first and foremost. It's probably religious.
Got it. Okay.
As time goes on, I think we realise that most things are religious in the past, weirdly. There's a thing in Britain at the moment with Iron Age hill forts, and more it's sort of being seen that They're not necessarily always defensive sites. They
Yeah.
may be places for people to gather, basically. So this is a
Well,
place where people would gather.
I mean, back in the ancient world, and I mean, I don't want to say that this is the case everywhere because there's probably exceptions, but like most places, like the idea of like separation of like church and state or like secular and like spiritual, like it doesn't exist in most places. Like
There's none of that. No,
it's all one and the same,
that's right.
Like,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, sure, you probably would come here if you were being invaded, I guess. But I think it
yeah,
wasn't the first and foremost reason for building it. Wasn't defensive. I don't think, anyway. Because I mean, it's not the greatest. You could probably climb up that wall.
I mean, you
I don't know.
could, but I don't know. If somebody's like shooting a bunch of arrows or like throwing a bunch of rocks at me, I wouldn't want to climb it.
True, true.
Be like, I could be at home like eating dinner in front of my fireplace right now.
So yeah, this is Quailap. I'm going to show you.
Now, did you get to
Here it
visit this
is.
site as well? I don't know if like these are your pictures or if you found. Oh man,
So
Here.
just so many houses up there. So yeah, people are living up here for sure.
Mm-hmm. So there's
Unfortunately, Quailap is not in the best state because once upon a
there, like, a lot-
time, the entire top of it was covered in trees. In recent years, as I understand it, as the trees have been cleared, the roots that were keeping the whole thing together have stopped keeping it together, and therefore, as you can see here, there's some subsidence that's happening.
yeah,
And so the more trees that they take down, the more the walls start to crumble.
yeah.
So unfortunately, when I visited, Quailap was closed, so I couldn't go in.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It was. So yeah, this was my picture.
Okay.
This whole bit had sort of collapsed
So
down.
are they like are they just like I don't know like repairing and like reinforcing all the walls at this point?
Yeah,
Or?
that is what they were doing last time I checked. But there's
Okay.
not a huge amount of money in Peru, and they don't get a huge amount of visitors. So it's a little bit up in the air. I think the future of Quailap needs some investment. I think.
I tell you, Peru needs to like. I mean, look, I know that like Machu Picchu's like gorgeous and beautiful. Like I've been there, it's amazing. But like, I kind of wish they promoted some of their other areas, like
Definitely.
like the same vigor, because yeah, it's like places like this are like, are amazing, and like, there's no crowds or anything. Like, there's definitely, I think, people that would love to travel and see these sites or like see areas on the coast, because yeah, like this is unbelievable. This is
Absolutely. I mean, look at this. It's just, it's so romantic. You go there and the mind fires off.
getting the fantasy vibes again, like
100%. But it doesn't even need to be fantasy. You just think about
Yeah.
the actual things that happened there. It's just,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
and it's like it's so green. It's like it's tropical,
super green.
like
It is. It's beautiful. It really is. And you can just see mountains as far as the eye can see. The Amazon rainforest is on one side. The desert is on the other side. And it's kind of in the middle of both, which is interesting. So the Chachapoyas people, they may be kind of middlemen between the Amazon and the coast, because there's
Now-
sort of things showing up from both sides.
Now, is there like I don't know, like a central Chachapoyan authority, or is every settlement kind of independent, doing its own thing? Do we know anything about how what the politics looked like?
So the Inca, in fact, it's not the Inca. Who's that guy who's half Inca and half Spanish?
Garcia
writes-
de la Vega, or
Could be that guy. There's a guy who basically he's from
I
an
know,
Inca
yeah, I know
royal
who you're
family.
talking about. I just don't know what the name is. Yeah,
He writes an account, and it includes quite a bit about the Chachapoyas, as far as I can recall. And he says that it's many peoples, and what they do is, if they are attacked, they come together. but they only
Got it.
tend to come together if they're attacked. So I think
Got
when
it.
the Inca go at them, they come together and they put up quite a bit of a fight. Actually, they're quite an irritation to the Inca because they are in sort of wild places and
Yeah.
they know the landscape and they do a bit of guerrilla warfare and that sort of thing. But as soon as the
They
Inca get
basically,
their mummies, there's not much they can do.
they basically do to the Inca what the Inca would do to the Spanish for like 3 solid decades after Cusco fell.
Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. I don't know what else I can say about the Chachapoyas now. Running out. Any questions?
I got lots. We could be here for a long time. But it's like making me like want to do a Chachapoyas episode now. That
Oh,
like
you
I'm
should, man. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
actually
you should.
had
Yeah.
someone actually I had somebody who reached out to me and offered to help me with the Chachapoyas episode, and I was like, I don't have any plans for that like in the near future, but like I'll keep your contact info. So like I do have somebody out there who can like help me with just finding good sources and stuff. So
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
Now I'm really starting to think if I want to like do this next year.
There's a
So
lot. There's lots of archaeology has been done.
yeah.
I think I'm finished with the Chachapoyas now. What
All
have we
right.
got next?
I think we're on my last one here, if I recall.
Awesome. So
Wait.
these last
Have
two.
is this the Quaylat picture, I think, that you're still showing? Or. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, just want to make sure that.
Let's.
So I think all we have left for me is Dorset. So this one shouldn't take too long. Crap, I should have put a map in here so that people know.
I thought that I
I'm
would.
talking about.
We've got to around about the year 1500 now ish.
Yeah.
So we can. The Dorset is a long-lasting culture way before then, but I thought.
Yeah. So actually, it's funny because there's two ways that you can look at the Dorset. The Dorset are basically a somewhat recent Arctic culture that survived like in the high Arctic until about like I think it's a little after like 1000 CE or something. But you can actually push the Dorset.
Terrible
back.
image, but there we go.
Oh my gosh, I should have sent you the map that I made for this. Because if I recall correctly, there's something wrong about the Wikipedia map. And I remember when I made mine, I was like, okay, I also have to include like these areas as well. But either way, that's here or there. But it's interesting because you can trace the Dorset from like the Arctic, like all the way back to Siberia about 5,000 years ago. And like through archaeology, through tools, you can see these people migrating from Siberia into Alaska, into like the northern Canadian plains beyond the Rockies, and then into the high Arctic, into Greenland. And they're not thought of as like one continuous culture. Like they get broken up into like old Bering Strait culture, Saukak culture, Independence culture, and then there's pre-Dorset and Dorset. But these are all like the same people. They're all descended from like a founding population that spreads out across the Arctic. And it's interesting because in the archaeology, we can see like how those people change and how they adapt. So when they first get to like Alaska, northern Canada, they're focusing a lot on like seasonally hunting big game, like muskox, caribou, stuff like that. And then maybe like in the summer they'll like go and hunt seals and everything. But as they get into like the high Arctic, they start specializing more and more and more into just hunting marine mammals. So like your seals, walruses, fish, and everything. But in doing so, it's interesting because when they first arrive into the Americas, they have the bow and arrow. But as they start specializing more and more into like, hunting aquatic animals and mammals, they lose the bow and arrow. And there's actually a couple of other tools that they lose too along the way. They just stop doing they stopped making these tools and stopped manufacturing them. So it's like, yeah, it's a really fascinating story. And it's a really fascinating story. And what's even weirder is that the Dorset are basically extinct today. They don't have any descendants that we can identify right now. Like from the few genetic remains from like the few Dorset remains that we've tested with genetics, their closest relatives today are in Siberia and the Aleutian Islands. The what you see here is basically art that was created by the Dorset. This is like a swimming polar bear that's carved out of walrus ivory. There's like a lot of interpretations or I should say there are several interpretations for like what this art means. The one that I see the most is basically that these are probably used like, in certain rituals where like, you like have this like bear carving, it's imbued with like a certain power that you would take like on a hunt or something. So like if you go back to the seal one that you had up earlier, yeah, like the idea would be like, okay, you're gonna hunt seals, like you're gonna take this along for like good luck or for some sort of spiritual power,
A talisman.
success. Yeah, something like that. Now that's not like that may be true, that may not be true. It's just a theory. I know that some people have like suggested like, oh, maybe these are like special things in like shamanic rituals. Maybe that's happening too. Although in that regard, if you pull up the mask that's in there, you should see it among the pictures. The one on the very left.
Ooh,
Yeah.
look at this.
So yeah, this is a mask. Again, it's just carved from a solid piece of ivory. Now, this picture looks big, but this mask is actually just like really small, like it could fit in the palm of your hand.
So
I
it's
think
not being worn on a face.
No. It's probably like my guess is that it's probably like, this is just my guess. I think it's like a prop that you would use like telling a story, like you could put like a fire behind it or something and like kind of animate it that way and everything. Or maybe this is supposed to represent a person or something. Like I really don't know, but it's interesting because you find a lot of artifacts like this that kind of like tell you that there's like a really rich a really rich and deep ceremonial and ritual aspect to the Dorset here that are living in, one of the most extreme environments on the planet. It's like super cold. And if you're like all the way up in the high Arctic, I mean, it's like dark for like a large chunk of the year. The sun never rises.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the most extreme environments that humans have managed to flourish in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Dorset are like super, super fascinating. But eventually, when the Inuit come into the area, and again, just like the Dorset's ancestors had thousands of years earlier, the Inuit basically come from Siberia over into Alaska. They spread into the Arctic, and it's unclear whether they spread in there because like the Dorset are already like have already kind of like faded away, or whether the Inuit displaced them. They don't seem to have like intermixed genetically with the Dorset. And there's like some Inuit oral histories that like talk about like these people that they encountered in the Arctic when they first got there. And in Inuit mythology, or sorry, in Inuit oral tradition, they're called the Tunit. Some people think that these might have been like, the remains of, or like the remnant populations of the Dorset or something. But again, nobody knows for sure. If you want to like take that oral tradition and run with it, you can, but we just don't know.
I like a mask like this because this is something that you see this kind of thing all over the world. You see this kind of thing in fact, it's not a million miles away, but in the hunter-gatherer period in Japan, there are masks like this all over the place.
Oh, like in Jomon, culture? Okay.
Exactly. And it's not a million miles away from the Aleutian Islands and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like
I
it
mean,
just
like I
seems.
said, people all come from like Siberia, and like especially if you're looking at areas like Sakhalin, Hokkaido, like those are
Yeah,
really close. Hmm.
yeah. They're pretty close to the Siberia sort of and Alaska. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, if you looked at a band of humans 20,000 years ago, anywhere on the world, they may have been doing similar things to what the Dorset were doing.
yeah. I mean, at
This
the end, yeah,
rich,
yeah,
symbolic world that we create. We love stories, don't we? And we love
yeah,
just narrativizing everything around us and
yeah.
coming up with some meaning to our lives.
Yeah, it's like really interesting that like people that would have lived like, as leanly as the Dorset did, kind of like on the, knife's edge between like starvation and,
Yeah,
success or starvation and survival, like they still had like space for, like they still had space for like their stories, their ceremonies, their rituals, like it's just kind of a good reminder of
mm,
like, yeah, no matter where you put humans, they're always going to have like this beautiful kind of like spiritual and esoteric
yeah,
interior life.
yeah, yeah. It's just what we do, and
Yeah,
then it gets passed down from one generation to the next, and
yeah,
yeah. It's particular. I mean, there's a lot of dark days and nights up in the Arctic. So in a winter evening, you've got to be doing something. So telling stories and yeah, rituals and
mhm,
engaging in the spiritual world and all that, and yeah,
yeah.
something
And the Arctic's
human about all these things.
yeah, and the Arctic is like kind of is a deceptively great place for archaeology because like you find like like organic stuff, like lots of like wood tools and stuff that's just survived because it just froze and dried out over the centuries, and so you know like it preserves things really really well, so you can actually find a lot of stuff at like those at like a lot of Arctic archaeological sites. So one of those
Mm,
things where, like when I started researching this topic, I was like what are we gonna find, what are we gonna find like in the Arctic, what's there? And I was actually really shocked at how rich the archaeological record is up there because so much stuff preserves, and it's such a thinly populated region, like even today, that just like it's not like stuff's just getting built over and bulldozed all the time. A lot of it's just where it was left.
yeah, and so you can actually see the original site. It's not
Yeah,
somewhere like Mexico City, for example. Things just get
yeah.
built on top of one another. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so the Dorset were not still around when Europeans arrived.
No, no, they
I've
were
got that wrong.
long gone. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Google told me 1500 AD.
I mean, maybe in like a couple, or actually, no, 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 no. Sorry. Let me technically backtrack on that a little bit. So there's some decent evidence that the Dorset may have had contact with the Norse, like up in Greenland and stuff, that there may have been encounters there. Um, it's like not super strong evidence, but like it
Yeah.
stands to reason that that when the Dorset were in Greenland, they could have had those encounters. So they would have encountered Europeans there. Um, I forget exactly though when the last Dorset populations like disappear though, but I think by the time Europeans get to the Arctic, it's all just Inuit people. So I
Mm,
could be wrong on that though. I'd have to like go back and check my book, but yeah.
super interesting.
Hmm.
Well, we'll go to the
But yeah, if you want
far south of the
to,
United States. We're going to go to Florida, of all places, which the Spanish called, the Spanish named it the Land of Flowers. Sounds like a nice place, doesn't it? But they didn't have a very nice time there. When the
no,
first Spanish arrived in Florida, they encountered quite a lot of people who lived there, and they weren't very happy with a big crowd coming through their land. There was an expedition basically called the Narvaez expedition, and completely failed, miserably failed. Only a handful of survivors basically limped back to the Spanish lands afterwards. The next expedition that went was by a guy called Hernando de Soto, and he basically took about 500 men, absolutely tons of pigs and other sort of pack animals and things from Mexico. In fact, he may have gone from Hispaniola, the lands of New Spain, basically, and he went into what is now the United States. And when he arrived in the southern United States, so like Georgia, Alabama, places like this, he found a flourishing society, essentially. Flourishing urban society, agricultural people, living a lifestyle that they'd lived for 800, 700 years or so up until that time. And today, it's a massive area and it's huge time span and all this, but it's sometimes called the Mississippian culture, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what Hernando de Soto came across and recorded, and the Expedition Chronicler recorded, which we could still read about today, it was sort of the very end, really, of this long-lasting cultural, archaeological horizon, which had gone on for a very long time. And I suppose the main things that the Mississippian culture did was they built mounds. So, and they did this everywhere. So I'll just show some of the mounds on screen.
By then, mound building in the eastern U.S. was a time-honored tradition.
Yes, this is a place called Winterville. So it's a nice example of a mound.
Where's that?
Basically,
do you know what state that's in?
Say again.
Do you know what state that's in? I don't think I've ever heard of that site.
Winterville, Mississippi.
Got it. Okay. Ah, that's really...
Yeah, so Hernando de Soto arrives, and it's basically he's interacting with these quite sophisticated polities, essentially, and he does the classic thing of he basically pretends to be a god, and he goes around and he kind of like plays one group off against the next group, and he rampages around, and he brings all of his pack animals with him, not realizing that these animals have these zoonotic diseases that the locals have no protection against, basically. So by the time the next Europeans come along, this entire region has been ravaged by disease, essentially, and 90% of the people are dead. But the De Soto account is an interesting snapshot, basically, of what this society roughly had been like for 500 years or so before that time. But really, he came across this culture when it was definitely not at an apogee. It had, in a way, fallen on hard times since the time of this archaeological site, which I'm sure you know all about.
Yes.
Which is Cahokia.
It's actually there just a few months ago.
Oh, amazing. So this is probably the best, well, no, it is the best example of a Mississippian site. And it's a city, a vast city, really. And it flourished in the 11th century AD, basically. And this is called Monk's Mound, which, again, is in that list of sort of biggest pyramid-like structures, basically. Yeah. So in terms of its volume, it's on a similar scale to Teotihuacan and the Great Pyramid of Giza, and these biggest.
Say, I think the footprint is fairly similar to the Great Pyramid of Giza too. Obviously, it doesn't have the same volume or height, but still, that's huge. It's big.
It's big. It's in that list of sort of like biggest ever monuments, basically. It would have looked a bit more magnificent back in the day. It's sort of fallen on hard times a little bit. And today, it's in the middle of a park, essentially. It's got a road that runs past it. I think most people don't really know what it is or really care that much, which is a bit sad. So there's a big road basically that's been built in the middle of the city.
Yeah, yeah. So actually on the right hand side there, so like kind of between the lake and like the mound, that's if I recall correctly, I think that's like Interstate 55. And so like a lot of people drive past this because
Mm,
that's a busy interstate, but like they never see it. And I like always tell
yeah,
people like, when they go to St. Louis, which you can see the skyline of in the
you can see the
top part of
arch
the arch. Yeah.
there.
But I always tell people, like, like, hey, if you're like going to St. Louis, just literally pull off the highway. It's just, an extra couple minutes. You can, park at the site and just walk around and see the mounds. There's never a huge amount of people there, and it's just, really beautiful. You get some great, great photographs from the top of the mound.
Yeah,
Yeah, like this is not a site in the middle of nowhere. Like it's
no,
actually in a really busy area.
it's in the suburbs really,
Hmm.
and because of that, unfortunately, most of it is gone. So we have the centre basically. The outlying areas are underneath the city of St. Louis. Basically, there's an area called East St. Louis, which is
Yeah.
on this side of the river, and it covers an entire sort of section of Cahokia, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a sad story because it used to be, 10 times bigger, but in the time since St. Louis has sort of flourished, like late 1800s, early
Mhm.
1900s, it's been kind of ravaged by the modern world.
I mean,
You
I
go
mean,
on.
the problem is that sorry, I was just gonna say. I mean, the problem is that it's built in such a desirable place that like
Hmm.
because it's right where the Mississippi and the Missouri River meet, and
Yeah.
those are two of the most important rivers in the eastern U.S. So like, in a lot of ways, I think it was kind of like there's no way Cahokia and like the St. Louis East St. Louis sites were ever going to be preserved in their entirety, just because
No.
real estate is too desirable. But yeah, it is brutal to like read about like these like mound sites that just get bulldozed over and like it's awful.
Pretty much.
Like like a lot of people don't realize this, but like Louisville, Kentucky used to be like a big mound city back in the day. But like all those mounds are gone. Like they were bulldozed when Europeans, well not bulldozed, but like they were all leveled out when settlers moved in, and so there's literally none of those mounds left. But like the first reports of people that went in there were like, oh yeah, like there were mounds everywhere, and like
Yeah.
we dug into them and like found some of this, and then we like and then we like either moved on or just like flattened it and leveled it out. So
Yeah. Some of them would be dynamited for sure.
yeah.
And if we're lucky, they took some of the artifacts out and kept them. But often,
Yeah.
no, often they didn't.
No,
But it's just, that was then. Things potentially are changing a bit now. I think it's protected a little bit more, and there's a bit more of respect
yeah.
ish.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely better than like what it was in like the late 19th and early 20th century. Like, I don't know if you're going to talk about this site, so like I don't want to steal your thunder, but like, are you going to mention Spiro at all?
I wasn't planning on it, so you speak about it.
Okay. So you can see Spiro here. It's on like the Caddoan, Mississippian area. That's like another famous Mississippian site. There was like a lot of like really incredibly well preserved artifacts that were found there because there was basically a tomb that was found there, and like against all the odds in the world, the tomb was air sealed. Like, so all the organic stuff like textiles, wooden tools and artifacts were like perfectly preserved, except that when it was excavated, the rights to excavate it were sold to a mining company who just like went in, gutted the mound, dynamited it, and like completely wrecked the site. Like if you want to get mad, just like read about how Spiro was excavated, and it'll just like make you so angry. Because
I think that is the site that I was thinking of actually when that got
Yeah.
dynamited. Yeah.
yeah, because it was
Yeah.
like it was a total shit show. And like, and the sad thing is that like we still have like a lot of those artifacts from the site, and they're exquisite. Like they're incredible, but you just kind of wonder like what did we blow up in there? You know, like what did we
Pretty
lose?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And we can see they're all over the place really, these urban centers essentially.
Yeah.
And I suppose this is the equivalent of, so they're growing corn, they're maize growers.
Yeah.
For example, in the area around Hopewell, as we spoke about earlier, they kind of went a bit Mississippian at this time. It was the thing that people were doing. If you were maize growers, you became mound builders basically, and you'd have a plaza.
I would say
I'm
if
waffling
you're growing,
now.
I would say if you're growing like corn at this time, you're definitely Mississippian. I mean, like mound building goes back thousands of years. Like even into the archaic, people were like
Yes.
building mounds. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like
Well,
mounds
that's
that
what I
like
was going to say
actually
as
have
well.
like building, mounds that have like buildings and temples on top of them and
Yeah.
stuff, and are part of like complexes. Like yeah, like that's all new there.
So this is Poverty Point, which I'm sure you know all about. This is a mound at Poverty Point from the 2nd millennium BC.
Mm-hmm.
So the mound building tradition is very, very ancient. Yeah, and it continues on all the way through to the European arrival.
It's funny because like I'll come across like a lot of comments, especially on like the Cahokia episode where people are like, "Oh, well, could people have like, did people from Mesoamerica come and like teach these people how to build like, pyramids or whatever?" And I'm always just like the oldest pyramids in Mesoamerica are way younger than the oldest mounds in the eastern United States. Like
Yeah,
anything you should be like, if anything, the opposite is probably true. People from the eastern US went to Mesoamerica and was like, hey, like what if you built a cool big mound out of stone and like shaped it,
it just seems to me that the mound building thing, this idea of building something upwards,
Yeah.
it's intrinsically human. We just,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's the easiest structure that you can make fairly easily. So you just sort of, you can get a bunch of people together, pile a bunch of earth up, and you can make something. I mean, this happens in the Neolithic in Europe. It happens all over the place. It seems to be one of these things that just it pops up again and again.
It's like, people like big impressive constructions, and you kind of got to build up to do that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Particularly if you want to lord it over your people, you can stand on top of the mound. I think these are the copper plates from Spiro.
I think there's more beyond that, but yeah, those are some.
These are some of them. Just to get an idea of some of the exquisite things going on. Really, just amazing artisanry.
Yeah, if you look up, what's it called? Is it called Big Boy? Like if you Google like Spiro Big Boy sculpture, there's like a famous like effigy pipe that a lot of people believe represents like kind of one of the Mississippian culture heroes called Red Horn, and like there's a lot of like he's shows up in like a lot of like Eastern mythologies, like especially like the Ho Chunk and like I think like the Menominee as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's it right there. So yeah, this is like a effigy pipe basically. And yeah, this is like a very, very famous piece of sculpture, and it's believed to depict like the mythical hero Red Horn, who shows up in like a lot of Eastern mythology.
It's really nicely made as well.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think, it's just still now there's an idea that when the Europeans arrived in North America, it was this untouched wilderness area kind of thing, and with hunter-gatherers wandering around. But it really wasn't. When the Europeans arrived in North America, it's this immensely complex series of societies, politicking with each other, warring with each other, trading with each other, doing diplomacy.
Yeah.
Dynasties of kings and queens and travelers going around, religions left, right, and center. Spanning the entirety of what is now the United States.
Yeah.
and it's really the disease that did everyone in.
It's funny because, like, we often we often make the distinguishment between like the old world and the new world, and it's like the new world, quote unquote, was still a very, very old world.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
There's like tens of thousands of years of, occupation there, maybe
yeah,
even more, who knows? But like,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah, like it's not like
absolutely.
people just got there. It's not like people just got there like a couple centuries and, and we're just, barely surviving. They've been thriving there for
Yeah,
so long.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this, yeah, just so Poverty Point. I put this on screen
Yeah,
briefly. This is second millennium BC. Absolutely extraordinary site. Even before Poverty Point, there's a
yeah,
place called Watson Break, which is fourth millennium BC, so 6,000 years ago, and it's monumental architecture. Central place. People would congregate there. Then
yeah.
you move through. You have the Hopewell. Then you have Cahokia.
Hmm.
You also in the southwest, which we haven't even mentioned, you have you know ancestral Pueblo building these amazing, intricate archaeological sites there. It's just loads going on.
Yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely loads going on. Do you get taught this in school?
So, okay, so in my experience, and again, like, I mean, I'm sure you know how education works in the United States. Like, every state does their own education differently. So, I can only speak to Indiana because that's where I live. It's where I was born and raised. So like, we learned about some of it. We definitely learned more about the local people who were native to Indiana. So like we would touch on like, like the Hopewell, the Mississippians and stuff because, there are Hopewell and Mississippian sites like in Indiana, especially the southern part of the state. Um but you're really not going to learn much beyond that until like the Europeans show up, and then they might talk some more about the natives, but at that point, like, it's really just about like the Europeans and the spread of colonists and stuff.
Yeah.
Now like I grew up and like went to like school in like the 90s and aughts, so like I think it's actually gotten better now based on like how I see my own kids getting like educated and the stuff they read at school. I think it's actually quite a bit better now than when I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, but because like my daughter like did like a whole unit on like colonization out west, and they learned about like the Nez Perce and stuff and everything. And I was like really surprised. I was like, oh, like you guys are already learning about this? Like that's kind of cool. So I think it's
Hmm.
getting better. But again, I can only speak for my state. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't say much more. Like I'm sure like, I would have and I kind of see some of these comments on different videos. Like I remember like on the Calusa video, people in like South Florida were like, "Oh yeah, like like we took field trips to like, this museum or that site when like, when I was a kid." Da 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 da. So like people down there learn about it, but like somebody in like the Midwest or like out in California is probably not gonna know who the Calusa are because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
gonna be learning about the local cultures around them. So
It's
yeah,
good to know about the local cultures, but I feel like
for sure. Yeah,
an overview is good because then you
yeah,
can put it all in context and you can
mm,
see just how wide-reaching
yeah,
the societies were in the United States before
yeah.
the Europeans arrived. You know.
And I think a big problem when like everything is so localized is you don't realize how like integrated so many of these areas were. So like if you're learning about people in like, let's just say like you're learning about like, people that lived in Mississippi pre 1492, you can learn a lot of cool stuff, but you're not going to understand that these people were part of like a wider culture that was like integrated with people, as far north as like the Great Lakes, integrated with people all the
Yeah.
way in Florida. So I just wonder if people really understand that when it's so localized.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
agree. I agree. Just briefly show this guy. I like this guy.
Oh yeah. That's at the Cahokia Site Museum, right? Is it? Because I feel like I've seen. Oh no! I'm thinking of a different one. But
The
yeah,
Cahokia Site Museum was closed when I visited for refurbishment.
that's the one that's at the Cahokia Site Museum. That one, I believe. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. No, it's really neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome Mississippian art out there. I think that's another thing people don't necessarily. They see a mound and they just, I don't know, they don't see past the mound. You've got to use your imagination. You've got to imagine the society that was building that thing. But then, yeah, the other sad thing is when Europeans first came upon a load of these mounds, they thought this is way too advanced for the people who lived here before us. It must have been made by white guys,
Yeah.
the lost tribes of Israel or Phoenicians or whoever, but not the people who actually built them.
Yeah. It's actually funny because that's like one of the first questions about like American archaeology back in the 1800s is like, okay, who actually built these mounds?
Yeah, just couldn't possibly think.
Yeah, eventually archaeologists are like, no, it was built by the people who lived here, and
Yeah. Turns out the people who lived there built the thing that is there. I mean, but yeah. I like this one too. This is another interesting.
Where's that? I have never ever seen that. Where is that from?
This is from.
Interesting.
I don't know where this is from actually.
Huh, okay. That's a really I've never seen that. That is really cool.
Nursing mother effigy.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And is that like a pot or is that a sculpture?
That is well, it looks like it's ceramic.
Got it. Okay. Wasn't sure if it was like carved from
Yeah.
a material.
Bear in mind, I haven't. Should probably add, I've not done my deep research on a number of these people I've been talking about. I've visited a lot of their places, and it's at this point I'm just incredibly fascinated by it.
Sitting on all the good footage.
Yeah, exactly. But I haven't done my deep research yet. But I will be doing a Mississippian one eventually. Because I've just always been fascinated by these guys.
I was about to say that's a really big topic. I've kind of been intimidated to do a Mississippian one because it's such a area over such a huge time. Like, I don't know. I
think what I'll do is I'll do Cahokia, and then I will. I'll branch out from there. So I'll get to know Cahokia well, and then I'll branch out from there.
Well, the nice thing for you is that you're used to making 4-hour episodes. It's like not how I work. So like, I could make a whole Mississippian episode in 4 hours, and I'm sure it'd be awesome. But like, I don't think I could cram that all into 40 minutes or however long.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe I'll do a 4-hour Mississippian one. I think definitely I'll do Cahokia to begin with because that's like
because that's where it all starts.
And it's a nice self-contained thing in a way. You can just look at the city itself, and because it's wildly influential, that city.
It's almost like
spread
the
out.
Eastern U.S. kind of bottlenecks at Cahokia briefly, and then like it's like a lot of culture feeds into it, and then just gets dispersed back out again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well.
Also, when you make that episode, if you need any pictures from the museum, I got a bunch, so I can share those.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you. Right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I want to, respect your time. You've been very generous.
Oh, no. I could talk to you forever. The only thing is I've got to go and... what have I got to do? Go and make dinner.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I've got a curry on. I'm going to go make some rice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was about to say oh wow. Yeah, I just finally looked at the time and I realized what time it actually is, and I haven't had.
Thing is, when you do these streams, the time just flies by, and then it's like, oh god, 3 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't get tons of opportunities to talk to such interested and knowledgeable people very often.
Well, I appreciate you calling me that.
I was about to say, most of my friends and relatives, like, like, love them to death, and we have plenty of other stuff to talk about, but it's just like, they can't talk about the domestication of wild rice in the Amazon. They're not going to care about that, but I do. So
No, it's the same for me. Yeah, like most of my, to be fair, most of my mates are into this stuff, but they haven't necessarily studied it or do it for a job. So it's a different sort of level, I suppose.
Yeah,
and I've been
sorry, go on. I didn't.
No, you go on.
I was just gonna say, and like, this is all like very niche. Like, I totally understand and respect that this is not everybody's jam, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't want to come off like I'm calling, like these people nincompoops or something, because it's definitely not what they are. They're just,
well, everyone's got their thing, haven't they?
Yeah, they do.
I've got friends who could probably talk for hours on, definitely could talk for hours on football or soccer to you.
Yeah.
But then it just doesn't do it for me. Doesn't do it for me. Yeah. But no, I've been enjoying doing these conversations because, just everyone's got their own thing. Even within our history archaeology niche, everyone's got their thing within that niche. Yeah, it's awesome. We'll have to do this again. We'll talk about another 10 cultures.
Well, that's good, because I could definitely pull some more, out of a hat.
Yeah, man. There's always more to talk about. I'll just quickly have a look at the chat because I always forget about the chat. But here it is. Let's see if there's any
chat. Oh my god,
there is a chat. Yeah.
I never used. Hold on.
Do we have any questions?
Now I feel bad. I wasn't even looking at that. I like.
Thing is, it's.
Oh man, there's a lot in here.
I'm terrible at multitasking. Do you see any questions that you want to answer?
I am looking through them right now because there's a lot. Maybe we should just ask people to like pop any questions now.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions that they want answered? If anybody does, we will answer them now.
Well, somebody said I'd love to see a deep dive into Mississippian history, so, hopefully one of us will get that to you soon.
I feel like we can both probably do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the now where I've kind of like listed out all my like topics that I'm probably going to cover for 2026, and I don't think there's going to be enough room for the Mississippians unless, I don't know, I guess my patrons could vote on that, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, my 2026 is a little bit up in the air because I'm about to have my first child, so I'm about to become a father, which is awesome.
Congratulations!
So super excited about that. But of course, it does mean that my productivity will go through the floor. But that's fine. That's fine.
I was about to say, you know what I make? I make my channel work, and I've got got multiple kids, so yeah.
Yeah. So it'll just be juggling it around those guys. But it's going to be good.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Well, somebody wants a collab on the Mississippian culture, so
maybe that's how we do it. Maybe we just do a collab. That would be cool, actually.
Like the good old collaborations of old.
Yeah. We've probably done a collab before.
I don't think we have.
Maybe we haven't, because there used to be those big collabs that were done with a bunch of channels.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't do the same one.
I don't know. The problem with those, because like, I'll have people that'll reach out to me and be like, "Oh, like, this channel, like, want to do this? Like, are you interested in doing it?" And I'm like, I am, but like, I am already knee deep in like this episode that's gonna be finished in like 2 months, and I can't really steer away from it at this point,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the things that I'm working on, I've been doing for years already, and they take years to make. I tend to do a lot of things simultaneously, you see, so I'll do flip between things as well. Yeah.
Oh, here's a question. Any thoughts on the Kelp Highway hypothesis? It's a good hypothesis. Like, I kind of think it's the best one we have at this point. So just context, like it's basically the idea that humans first came into the Americas via the coast down
Oh
what's
yeah,
called the Kelp Highway.
yeah,
And I mean, yeah, looking at stuff like, like looking at sites like Monteverde, Meadowcroft and like the White Sands, it's just like, like how else are these people getting there at that time? And Kelp Highway makes the most sense to me, but
yeah.
yeah.
It makes sense. We follow the coast,
Hmm.
and particularly, yeah, we were talking earlier about having a map just based on the rivers and this. If you just stay on your canoe, you're going to just keep going down the coast, aren't you?
Yeah. Just makes sense. And I mean, like if you're adapted to life on the coast, you know how to like, you know how to use all the, fish and marine mammals there. I mean, why wouldn't you just keep going to where there's more fish and marine mammals?
Pretty much. Pretty
Mhm.
much. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, someone says, when's the baby? Congratulations on the baby. Thanks, Teresa. We don't know the gender. Doing it the old-fashioned way. And it's start of December. So basically, very soon.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. I'm going to go feed my wife now. And,
You're going to have a very
Yeah.
busy holiday then, it sounds
oh,
like.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be good. First half of next year, basically, will just be that. And then I do have a video with my editor at the moment, which is nice. So there's one that will be coming out while I'm off.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All I got to say is like when you have your first kid, you're probably going to be like really tired and exhausted, but appreciate those days when you have them, because when they're over, like when
Of
your kids
course.
are toddlers, you're going to miss it a lot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. You just got to try and enjoy it. Got to try be in the moment, enjoy
Yeah.
the little things. Just try and forget about the impending AI apocalypse.
Yeah. Can't put your head in that space for too long.
Yeah. I think we'll be fine. I think humans will be fine. I assume. I hope.
Humans always survive. Like
Yeah.
like
In
people are
what
always like,
state we survive in?
"We're extinct," and I'm like, I mean, there might be a catastrophe, but like humans will figure out a way to survive, or at least some of them will. So
We're like cockroaches. Some of us will always survive.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Somebody says, sorry, Jeff says, when is the next live conversation? I actually have two coming up. One is with History Dose, and the other is with History with Kaylee. And they're going to be when are they? Monday and Tuesday, I think. Soon, in like a couple of days. So yeah,
History Dose he just got back from his Egypt trip, so he'll probably have a lot to talk about. Or I suppose,
yeah, I think we're going to talk about that a bit.
I'm assuming you're having both of them on, right?
Yes,
brothers,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
no,
it's
they're super cool. Yeah.
I like that we're all talking to each other, all these history archaeology creators. It's great.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah. Nice to speak to like-minded people.
Really is.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm going to go and do my domestic chores.
Yep. Enjoy dinner.
Thanks, man. I may come to you with dad questions.
Well, I'll tell you the best. Tell you
Need some
the
of
best advice I can.
Need your dad wisdom. I'll
As
come
I
at
always
you.
joke to people, I'm like, I don't really know how good my advice is, because we won't know that until my kids are adults, and they might be perfectly well functioning humans, or they might be the most maladjusted
Yeah.
out there. So check back.
There's
with me in
always.
20 years to know if I've done a good job.
I'm sure we're going to mess our kids up in completely different ways to the ways that we were messed up by our parents. It's just going to be. It's just going to happen. It's always going to happen.
Just got to do your best.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then, Pete. Well, thank you very much. Everybody, go check out Ancient America's channel. Awesome stuff. And keep doing what you're doing. Love your channel.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And see you on the next one. Have I actually managed to stop that?
Still says live.